What's up? What's up? Panther Nation to my surface. What's going on out there, man? Happy Monday to everybody. Welcome to another midday madness, man, here on Life is Just a Wave podcast. I am your host with the most from the East Coast. Big waves in the building, man. Y'all already know what time it is. Shout out to everybody, man, for pulling up to the channel. Y'all already know, man, we got a ton of stuff to talk about today, man, in your midday madness, man. While everybody at work, man, pull up the YouTube, man, listen back. While you out there working hard, you out there getting to the grind, making your money. Let's talk about some Carolina Panthers, man. A lot of exciting stuff, man, to talk about with this team. And is this the greatest off season ever? Again, if you're new to the channel, make sure you like and subscribe to it. For everybody that's already subscribed to the channel, man, thank y'all so much for the support. For the love that y'all been showing the channel, man. We're going to continue to run this thing up, continue to provide y'all with great content over here, man, with your boy Big Waves in the building. One-man band. Y'all already know what time it is. Hey, but a lot of stuff to get into today. So, Carolina Panthers, man. Supernova, what's good with it, man? How you doing, bro? Salute, salute, salute. Midday madness over here. Life is just a way. Pull up, man. Tell your friends, tell your sisters, cousins, mamas, daddies, brothers, sisters, aunties. Let everybody know that we are live, man. Midday madness, man. The midday king is here. King Surfer is in the building. Shout out to the whole Panther Nation out there, man. Shout out to everybody for pulling up. Eric, what's good with it? The Black Frank Wright is in the building. We got a lot of stuff to talk about today, man. It's going to be a great show today, man. Midday madness. We in the mix. Hey, a lot of stuff to talk about, man. Bo Carter, what's good with your brother? How you living, man? I know everybody in the middle of their work day right now, man. Appreciate y'all for pulling up. Just wanted to bring y'all some supreme content today, man. We got a lot of stuff to cover today. We're going to have some people pull up on the panel, man, and talk about a lot of different things today. One of the first things that I wanted to start off with, man, after I get all my shout outs in, man, we're going to talk about, is this the greatest offseason the Panthers have ever had? The greatest offseason the Carolina Panthers have ever had. Listen, I've been a fan of this football team for a long, long time. And I can tell y'all, listen, I have never seen an offseason like this. I've never seen an offseason where the Carolina Panthers have been this aggressive with really trying to make this team a better football team. And there's plenty of places that we can start with this, right? One of the places that we can start is just, with David Tepper, man, not sparing any expense to bring in one of the most experienced coaching staffs here in the NFL. On paper, if you look at it, the Carolina Panthers arguably have the best coaching staff in the NFL. And that's no slight, right? That's no slight to the reigning Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs, to the Philadelphia Eagles and the staff. But look, they've lost some pieces. Shane Steichen left that team. Gannon, the defensive coordinator, has left that group as well. So on paper, the Carolina Panthers have the best coaching staff in the NFL. I am 100% a believer in that. I am sold on that. It's just they said something like there's a combined 200 years of experience on this team, right? And other teams across the NFL are already taking notice of that. Currently, right now, the NFL owners meetings are going on right now, and the other coaches have said that the Panthers have done a fantastic job of building that with the signings that we've done. Frank Wright has a lot of good people vouching for what type of coach that he can be, and to see it all come to fruition, man, is going to be amazing. But, just think about that part of it. When have you seen the Carolina Panthers bring in this experience of a staff? It's something that they have not done. You're talking about 3 ex-head coaches on this staff, 3 potential head coaches that are going to be head coaches coming up here on this staff. It is a sight for sore eyes, if I could say the least. Frank Wright, say what you want about him. I know a lot of people want to judge him based off of his time and tenure that he did with the Indianapolis Colts. But I can tell you guys that I think that he was fired a little bit too prematurely. I think just the year before that, he led an end-of-career Phillip Rivers team to the playoffs. Now, that's another, to his defense, he did not have a quarterback in place that would be able to allow that team to have success in this first year. So again, I think that he was fired a little bit too prematurely there. And you know what? Listen, one man trash is another man's treasure. I think that he's a quarterback whisperer. He's a quarterback guru. Whatever young quarterback that we taken, I think that it's going to be Bryce Young. My feelings have changed a little bit about who the guy is going to be, but I think it's going to be Bryce Young. I think Bryce Young is going to be the quarterback for the Carolina Panthers. And say what you want about his size, or say about what you want to say about, his weight and so on and so forth. Bryce Young is arguably probably the most talented quarterback in this league. I've watched a lot of film on him over the last couple of days. And if you're just talking about pure playmaking ability, this guy has it all. He has it all when you're talking about a pure passer, pure playmaking ability, his way that he can break down defense. And then you have to remember something as well, to all my surfers out there. Listen, he played against the toughest competition in the college football. The SEC is arguably the closest thing that you're going to get to the NFL. And listen, he showed up in the biggest games. You don't have to go too far back to see that, man. Go and take a look at the tape when he played against the Tennessee Volunteers. He had a huge game that day. And then if you go back and take a look when they played LSU, my LSU Tigers, obviously I was watching that game full hand. Listen, Bryce Young carried an Alabama team who this year didn't have a ton of talent. This is probably the first year ever where the Alabama Crimson Tide didn't have a number one wide receiver or running back going in the first round. I don't even think that they have a number one offensive lineman going in the first round either. So he carried that team on their back, man, and they were still one game away from making the college playoffs. Now, granted, that doesn't mean that C.J. Stroud doesn't deserve to have the right to be the number one overall pick. He's a fantastic quarterback. We all know that his accuracy and as smooth and fluid as his throwing is makes him second to none when you're talking about, quarterback play. But if you ask me right now who has an edge after the pro days, we're almost less than a month away from being in the draft. I think that Bryce Young is going to be the quarterback here for the Carolina Panthers. And again, I'm fine with either one. You can give me C.J. Stroud. You can give me Bryce Young. I can see both of them having a ton of success. But after everything has been said and done, I think that Bryce Young is probably going to end up being the guy. Right. And a lot of executives and people that support the Carolina Panthers, beat writers, so on and so forth, have all said the same thing. Listen, it's going to be interesting. But back to the main topic. You've never seen the Carolina Panthers be this aggressive in one offseason. If somebody can tell me an offseason where this can even compare to, I will bet you $100 right now. You're talking about they signed a Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders was arguably the best free agent running back coming into this free agency. Obviously, he's going to want to demand a ton of money, to his next job, especially coming to a team that's not necessarily guaranteed to be a contender right away. Shout out to Eric Pierre Reacts. Why you feel like Bryce go be who they want? Well, Eric, I think, man, more so what it is, I think it's Bryce Young's playmaking ability, his ability to throw on the run, get outside of the pocket. Listen, C.J. Stroud has that ability as well, but I don't think that it's on the level of Bryce Young's. And then when we're talking about far as being able to analyze a defense and break down a defense and processing skills, I think Bryce Young has the best processing skills in the NFL. Now, again, I could be completely wrong, but it looks like the momentum is starting to shift towards Bryce Young. And to me, I'm not against it, right? When you also talk about level of competition and who we play, every week in the SEC was like playing in the NFL. That's one thing to say it. And then for Ohio State, not saying that there's anything wrong with the conference that they're playing in, but obviously when you're talking about that level of competition going against some of the best defenders week in and week out, I think that Bryce Young has the edge there. I really do think he has the edge there. But listen, both of these guys are talented. I would not be surprised if the Panthers took either one. But if you're asking me today, I feel like Bryce Young has a little bit more of an edge than C.J. Stroud here in Carolina. And the Panthers are keeping their hand close, right? They're keeping it tight-knit. They're keeping it close. They're not saying who's going to be. I think that, Josh McCown leaked it a little bit. Maybe C.J. Stroud is the favorite, but I think Bryce Young has at least taken the lead just by a little bit based off where they are. Now, you got to remember something, too, to all my surfers out there. Both of these guys are going to be brought in, and they're going to be brought in for visits. These guys are going to have another opportunity to throw in front of this coaching staff. They're going to see, exactly a thorough approach. And that's another thing you've never seen the Carolina Panthers do. You have not seen them be this invested into making sure that they're bringing in the right everything. They took their time to bring in this coaching staff. They took time to evaluate the free agents. They knew that they needed weapons. Trading DJ Moore away was something that I did not see happening at all, to be completely honest with you. But they stayed aggressive. And that is one of the biggest things that I've always said that I wanted to see the Panthers team do, is stay aggressive. And that's exactly what they've been able to do. When you look at the free agents that we brought in, going to get a Von Bell, a ball hawk safety who had 4 interceptions last year, they spent big money on it. But look at the way that the contracts were set up by Scott Fitterer. Scott Fitterer right now, if there's an award for GM of the year, Scott Fitterer has to have it so far in the offseason. Don't you guys know, with all the money that we've spent so far in free agency, the Panthers still have the second highest cap space currently right now in the NFL. It's somewhere around 28 million. They have the second highest cap space right now heading into the draft. They have plenty of space to make more moves if they decided to make it. The way that Scott Fitterer set these deals up to not impact this year's cap and not impact heavy cap spaces down the line, you have to take your hat off to Scott Fitterer. Scott Fitterer has done a phenomenal job with building out this roster. And once they hit on this quarterback, I'm telling you, man, the Panthers are going to be something to reckon with. I think that we have the NFL on notice. And we can't forget, our defense is pretty much intact. The defense was always been solid. I don't think that there's ever been questions on the defensive side of the ball. I think that there's obviously holes that we need to fill in areas that we can add a lot of depth, especially at corner. But overall, the defense is pretty solid. There's playmaking ability there. And J.C. Horn has shown when he can stay healthy, and that's obviously a big if, but if he can stay healthy, he's one of the best hands-down corners in the NFL without a doubt. Dante Jackson, I'm not really sold on him. I'm really not, sold on Dante Jackson like that. I will tell you guys, Dante Jackson is not one of my favorites when we're talking about the Carolina Panthers on the defensive side of the ball. I actually think that Dante Jackson is somebody that we should move on from. And I think we probably need to start grooming a younger corner, or maybe bring in a free agent corner, or potentially even trading for a corner. I don't think Dante Jackson is the answer. I don't think CJ Henderson is there. So if you're asking me what is the weakest room right now on the defensive side of the ball, it has to be that cornerback position outside of J.C. Horn. I think that we need to add more depth at the corner position. And it showed, right? When we played the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for the second game, that's exactly where we were lacking at. We were lacking at corner. That's the reason why we got beat like we did, because when J.C. Horn is not on the field, it causes problems. And we need to make sure that we are solidified at that position if we're going to be a real threat this year, which I think that we are going to be. Edward, you're absolutely correct. He is definitely a ball placement specialist. We saw it, man. Bryce Young can throw the deep ball. He can throw the outside route. He can throw whatever route that you want him to throw. That side stuff doesn't mean absolutely anything to me. I think that we have an offensive line that is capable of being able to protect him. The Carolina Panthers finished with a top 5 offensive line last year. Don't see any reason why he's not going to be able to be protected if that front can stay. Yes, that we probably need a couple of depth pieces on that defense, on the offensive line. But outside of that, overall, we have done a pretty good job of setting our future quarterback up to have success. The signing of DJ Chark and Adam Thielen. Adam Thielen is a possession receiver, is going to be a security blanket for a young quarterback to come in here to play the game. DJ Chark is a physical, tough, big wide receiver that should be able to make plays down the field, also get open and beat any wide receiver on any route. I should expect him to have a big year as well. And then we can't forget that Terrace Marshall Jr., a name that's not being talked about a lot here in Carolina, should get more talked about. Terrace Marshall Jr. made a lot of big plays for the Carolina Panthers last season. I think that the injuries have kind of, dimming the light on his career. But I think that he showed that when he can stay healthy, he can have big play ability when he stays healthy. So don't forget about Terrace Marshall Jr. as well. And also, we can't forget the addition of Hayden Hurst and what he's going to do for a young quarterback, especially since we have not had a receiving weapon or threat at tight end since Greg Olsen. So again, the job that this team has done, this has by far been the Carolina Panthers' best offseason that they ever had. And to have $28 million plus, still in cap space after all of the moves that we've done. What does this say about David Tepper? All of us have been hard on David Tepper and what he's done with the Carolina Panthers and the decisions that he's made up until this point, right? And listen, it was deserved. Bringing in Matt Rule, some of the decisions that we made at quarterback, all of those were bad decisions by the Carolina Panthers as a staff. David Tepper not being able to get the practice facility built here in Carolina, down there in Rock Hill. That also, man, was to me, just, a bad look on his end. But has he earned the respect of this football team and of this fan base? And I'm going to say absolutely he has. Everything the Panthers have done this year, I have not questioned it at all in this offseason. These have been all the correct moves. These have been all of the right moves to turn your team from being a losing team, which we've had 6 losing seasons in a row, to a contender right away. And I don't think that we're done, man. I think that we're going to continue to make moves. I think that the draft is going to surprise a lot of people. I would love to see the Carolina Panthers, man, stay aggressive in the draft. Maybe they make a move, and we're going to talk about it, man. I'm going to bring my boy COT up here in a minute, but we're going to talk about it. Maybe the Panthers make a move. We want CJ Wavez. We want CJ. Listen, I know a lot of us want CJ. I want CJ as well, but I think that Bryce may be the guy. I really do. Honestly, I feel Bryce can't make the throws CJ can make, but I'm stacked for TMG and Sharp. Listen, man, CJ Stroud and Bryce Young, every throw that CJ Stroud can make, Bryce Young can make the same throws. He can do it. He can do it. Don't sleep on Bryce Young, guys. And I think that the size thing is what's sleeping in him. But if you told me that if Bryce Young had CJ Stroud's size, Bryce Young would be the number 1 overall pick. I'm going to say it completely. If Bryce Young was CJ Stroud, if he was 6'4" and he was 225, 230, Bryce Young would hands down be the best quarterback in this draft. I'm 100% sold on that. 100% sold on that. Why Bryce ain't weighing at the pro day? That's a smart decision, man. Listen, don't need to necessarily wait in the pro day to cause more, commotion around your size overall. We don't need to cause more commotion on that. If a team wants him to weigh in when they come in on a pro visit, hey, then that's what you do, but don't need to cause more commotion around it. There's already a lot of talk about his size. Don't need to weigh in at the pro day because it's only going to cause more commotion. Everybody knows that where he was at. Edward, you're talking about ifs, but again, go look at the tape. They're not that much different of a quarterbacks. Their styles might be a little bit different, but go and watch Bryce Young play, man. He's a playmaker. The 1A and 1B, but that's a big if, Waves. Hey, Bo Carter, you're right. It is a big if, but the point that I'm trying to say is that when it comes down to arm talent, there's no question that Bryce Young is just as good as CJ Stroud. There's no question about that at all. Shout out to Anthony Brown, man. We're going to go ahead and get to, is this the best offseason the Carolina Panthers have ever had, man? We're going to talk about it today, man. I got a lot of different people pulling up. If you're new to the channel, man, make sure you like and subscribe to it. We have hit the 700 mark, man. Thank y'all so much, man, for the love. Shout out to all of my surfers, all of the new surfers out there. The Cash App is scrolling across the screen, man. If you guys are feeling generous today, any donation will be greatly appreciated. It only goes to help making better content for you guys. Shout out to everybody. Carol, let me shout out to some of these people, man, in the comments. Edward Pierre Reacts, Carolina Logic, Anthony Brown, what's good with you, man? Bo Carter, Courtesy, what's all good with you, man? Let me bring my boy CLT up here. CLT, what's good with it, man?
What it do, Sam? Everything smooth?
Everything's smooth, brother. How you living?
I'm feeling good. I want to commend you on the overview that you gave this morning, man. Really good. Hit every point. I think that we covered this off season, so I'm definitely happy about your overview this morning.
Oh, appreciate it, man. Hey, I came on here with some shit to say today, man. We got to talk about it, man. Hey, let me ask you a question. Do you think that this is the greatest offseason the Panthers have ever had?
By far, definitely. Since I've been a fan, I don't see any offseason that has been comparable to this offseason. I don't see it. As far as definitely about free agency that we rung in, as far as the trading up, as far as coaching staff, this is a complete offseason for us so far.
Yeah, so let me ask you, what do you think? What is your favorite move that the Panthers have made this offseason? Can you hear me?
Yeah. What I would that's a good question. What would be my favorite move? It would have to be the assembly of the coaching staff. Because I feel like that's where it starts, because you have to develop young talent. You have to develop talent. You also have to get players that want to buy in and play for you. So the assembly of that coaching staff is the foundation that this team can build on and move forward.
Yes, sir, man. Listen, the coaching staff that these guys have put together, again, man, it's really shocking and surprising to me, and I'm gonna tell you why it's shocking and surprising. And I gotta hold my microphone today, guys. My microphone stand broke. My kids broke my microphone stand, so I gotta hold it today. But the reason why I'm so surprised with this coaching staff, man, is that think about what David Tepper and those guys had to sell these guys on to come to Carolina, right? Listen, the Carolina Panthers, let's keep it real. They were the laughing stock of the NFL just last season. You talking about we traded Christian McCaffrey away. We had another losing season back to back. Everybody was, getting mad or upset with us because we didn't bring Steve Wilkes back. But what is it that you had to go sell these coaches on to come into Carolina, right? Listen, Jim Caldwell interviewed for the head coaching job. Eviro interviewed for the head coaching job. Frank Wright interviewed for the coaching job. To get these guys all to come in and be on the same page, what does that show? And what does that show about David Tepper and his staff, man, to get all of these guys to come in and be on the same page? Like, I'm really surprised by that.
What I would say that had to sell them over is they had to be able to cut the check, and David Tepper was willing to do that this year, obviously. 2, gift a gab. You had to be able to sell the future, basically sell the direction that the team is going to. We understand that most of these coaches, like you said, Evero, the kid from the Rams, all these coaches are potential head coaches.
Exactly.
So you're selling them on the potential of, hey, put your name out there, get this, take this 0 to 100 team, basically, because we're at the bottom of the league. Take us to the bottom of the league, take it from the bottom to the top, build your stock as a head coach, and we understand within 1 or 2 years, most of these coaches want to be gone if we get to the trajectory that we assume that we can with this coaching staff, with the players, with drafting the quarterback.
Absolutely, man. And you bring up a great point that this staff and the job that they've done, man, even bringing in, Deuce Staley, that was another name that I was surprised in. Another name that's not being talked about enough is D'Angelo Hall, the cornerbacks coach. Going to get D'Angelo Hall. That's one name that I feel like we have not talked about a ton, who could be a diamond in the rough, man, kind of candidate for the Carolina Panthers and this coaching staff. Like the assembly of it and how the time that they took to bring it in. Thomas Brown, that they brought in from the Rams, was a guy that, is a lot of people think that he's going to be a head coach here, man, in the coming year or two. Then Evero, he interviewed for several coaching opportunities. Same thing for Jim Caldwell. And then how about the Dom Capers as a senior defensive assistant, and bringing him back to Carolina? It's just an amazing job. And then also, what about this is another thing that that's under the radar. Bringing back Campen and our special teams coach, bringing those guys back. Campen as the offensive line coach, Chris Tabor as the special teams coordinator. Bringing those guys back, man, were huge. And the fact that they just didn't get rid of those and they saw the progression that those guys made with those respective groups last year, that stuff was huge, man.
Definitely. That's definitely appreciating what you have, adding on. We tore up a lot of it, but we took what we had and added on to that. So you have to be happy with that. Also, I want to say what I can't get his name off the top of my head, but the quarterbacks coach that we bring in.
Yeah, hold on. Yeah, I got his name right here. Give me 1 second.
You got to mention him because he's built quarterbacks. He's also played in the league at quarterback. So that's a great addition for a rookie quarterback coming in.
Josh McNown.
Yeah. You definitely gotta give the Panthers some credit for bringing a creditable quarterback coach in, someone also experienced in between the lines.
Yeah, McCowan, that's up. See, what's up with everybody? MDJ, man, what's up with everybody? Appreciate y'all pulling up. Hey, Midday Madness here, man, on Life is Just a Wave podcast. If you're new to the channel, make sure you like and subscribe. Got 2 of the best Panther analysts in the building. Big bro, what's good with you, man? CLT, what's up with it? Y'all, we're here to talk about is this the greatest
Going on,
off
what's going on?
season, the greatest off season in Carolina Panthers history. Big bro, let's get your perspective on it, man. Is this the greatest off season and why?
Um, so far for what we've done so far with the coaching staff, with free agency, moving up to get the number one pick. Yes, this is one. Since I've been a fan, which since the beginning '94, this is one of the so far the if not the best off season that we've had. Going into a season. And the reason why is because, Scott Fitter and David Tepper recognized the need to put this organization in the winning position. He first did that by hiring, Frank Reich. I know a lot of fans out there wanted uh, um, my guy that went to San Francisco, Steve Wilkes wanted Wilkes, but it came down to Frank Reich. A lot of people's upset about that. But what I can say is that when he hired Frank Wright, came in with a plan, and his plan was to get the best staff in place that he felt, that was available to for this team and this organization. And I think he did that, man. You guys, I heard y'all talking about it earlier. We're bringing, the guys like Deuce Staley in, Jim Caldwell, Dom Capers, Evero Brown, Josh McCown, former quarterback, as my guy just stated, with experience. I mean, man, hands down on paper, I think we got one of the best staffs in the NFL. That was the first step um, with this offseason. Second, after we got a staff in place, okay, Frank Wright and Tepper and Fritter, they came together. All right, guys, we're sitting at ninth pick right now, and we need a quarterback, for our future, for the franchise guy. So what can we do to go up and get a quarterback? Okay, obviously they made calls out there, to the Bears, um, to see if they can get a deal done, and they got a deal done. Yes, we traded DJ Moore, but that's what it took to go get the number one pick. It was very aggressive with that move, man. They banking on getting their guy, getting our guy. So that was the second thing, man. The Panthers did this offseason. That was great. They're showing to put us in position to win going forward. Third thing, free agency started. We addressed a lot of needs in free agency. Miles Sanders' pickup was really good in my opinion. Obviously Adam Thielen, another great pickup. Um, um, because we need a receiver. The Shark move was really good. Also, coming into what made this free agency really good was that the cap work that Fritterer did. Coming into the free agency, the Panthers was one of the ones that we had limited cap space. But with the restructured deals of several guys that was on the roster, we were able to create more space. And I think that's really big. And me and Wavez will talk about this online. He read a report today that the Panthers still have, I think it's like 30 something million left in cap space, if I'm not mistaken. So Fritter has done a really good job with the signings, with the contracts, um, you know, this offseason, man. So far, to answer your question, yes, this is one of the most aggressive off seasons as well as really good off seasons the Panthers has had in the short history that the team has been around. Again, we're gonna see what this number one pick is gonna do. Um, to really go, it's gonna come down. We can go back and talk about this 2-3 years from now. This was the off season that changed this organization. Going forward. Once we figure out who we're gonna get at quarterback and what the result gonna be. So it can be, I think, the greatest offseason, one of the greatest offseason in the history of the Panthers so far. And we're gonna be able to judge it in about for real, I would say about 2 to 3 years. If it was as good as it's supposed to be, how it's looking on paper so far. But yes, I do think it's a really really good off season so far, and it's shaping up to potentially be one of the greatest in our history. So to answer that question,
Yeah, man, I don't think you can say that any better, man. Shout out to MDJ, man. He said this all season started last year when we traded CMC. Hey, look,
absolutely. Yep.
that's a good nugget, man, because we wouldn't have the draft capital, man, that we have now if it wasn't for to even make that first overall pick happen if we don't trade Christian McCaffrey there.
Yeah.
Uh, so that's you absolutely right, man. But man, what do y'all think changed about Tepper? You know what I'm saying? Like what do you guys think have changed about Tepper? Because again, I don't see Jerry Richardson, man, if he was still the owner, God rest his soul, making moves like this, man. Like you got to think about it. Like some of these guys, man, were the top free agents, man, at their respective positions. Miles Sanders and Thielen, Shark, and Hurst. The Panthers don't usually spend this kind of money, man, when it comes to free agency, man. So what do y'all think changed at the top, man, to say, hey, we got to stay aggressive? CLT, what you think, man?
So for one, I think Tepper took 2 key points. One is patience, and 2 is trial and error. He learned from his mistakes. To begin with, I would say the patience is because, yes, he did fire Matt Rule, but he could have cleaned house with Tepper as well. I mean, Tepper, Fitter as well.
Right.
So to give Fitter the patience for him to bring in his guy, because Matt Rule was before Fitter, and Fitter, was brought in. Matt Rule was first, and Fitter was afterwards. Correct me if I'm
Yeah.
wrong, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
So you gave Fitter the opportunity to pick his guy at coach, which is Frank Reich. And then the error is, the trial and error is not giving the position to unexperienced. He said he wanted somebody experienced. He wanted to go get Frank Reich with winning coaching experience. And then also another key point about Mr. Frank Reich is that's unique is the coaching staff that he assembled. Most coaching staffs, once you hire a head coach, their coaching staff is already assembled, right? Frank Reich didn't have his coaching staff assembled and allowed for great candidates to come available. You know what I'm saying? And then review those with interviews. So I think that's very, very important that you understand that Frank Reich did not have his coaching staff assembled, went through every possible candidate, sold them on positions that they can come in and help the Panthers at. So yes, I would say Fitter was patient this year and he learned from his mistakes. So those are two key points about Tepper this year.
So go ahead. But yeah, I was gonna say the expand on that, and Brandon Carter, you're right, and that's what I was gonna say. Tepper's a businessman, right? So what changed in him this offseason was started last year when he fired Rule, was that he realized he made an investment, which is the Panthers, right? Invested in the city. And he realized, like, okay, at the end of the day, it's about making money and turning a profit, for your investment, right? So he realized that, all right, the fans are not coming in. The Panthers has a big fan base, if nobody know. But you couldn't tell that by maybe going to a game, because you would see it got to the point where other teams' fans was in our stadium, and again, that means that our base here, which is the Carolina Panthers, we wasn't getting the fans to come out and support the team. So I think he realized that first. All right, well, I got to do something to get the fans to get back in the stadium, and ultimately, fans coming in the stadium, that means they spending money. For him, how he thinking. So he realized, all right, I got to get rid of Rule. My product, that he's putting out on the field is not working. Fans are not excited. We don't really have exciting players besides CMC. And, there's nothing for the city to be excited about. Plus the deal with the whole thing down at Rock Hill where the practice facility got canned. There was he was having the image out there like, okay, this guy, he might not be a great owner. And the fans really wasn't supporting him. So I think he realized that as a businessman. So he said, let's fire Rule first, which again he wasn't producing on the field. Boom, he fired Rule. All right, Fitterer came in and like my man said, CLT said, uh, uh, he fired Fitterer. Fitterer hired his guy after the season, right? And Frank Wright, like CLT said as well, brought guys in. He didn't take, guys that may have worked with him prior in the past, like his staff, that he had up there in Indianapolis. He's like, all right, I want to go get the best guys available, right, and give him an opportunity, and he plugged people from all over the league, right, to assemble this staff. And he probably went to Tepper like, hey, I need you to open your checkbook up. We're going to get the best guys that's out there available. And I think he did that. So Tepper, I don't think nothing necessarily changed in him. I think he realized, like my man said, that what we had in place under Rule, and it was a learning, it was a learning experience for him. It wasn't working. Like, it wasn't working for business. It wasn't working for the fan base. It wasn't working for the city, because he wasn't producing. He wasn't producing. If he was winning, then yes, he would have still been here, and the fans would have been inside. But that wasn't the case. And people realize that Tepper came from Pittsburgh. A lot of people forget that, where everybody knows the key in Pittsburgh is consistency. Consistency with their coach, consistency with them winning. They competing every year, right? So I think he even said that with his initial press conference when he became the owner of the Panthers, he wanted to, get the Panthers in position like Pittsburgh, to be consistent every single year, right? That we competing for a playoff spot. So I don't think nothing that necessarily changed in him, his model. I think he just realized that what we were doing as an organization wasn't working. So a change had to be made. I mean, any good businessman knows that, if your what you got, what you're doing, if it ain't working, you got to change. You got to adapt. That's how the great business minds think. You got to adapt and change and go with what's working. So, and this is another opportunity to see, and I think he's done a good job so far of it this offseason. Can't hear you, man.
Can everybody hear me now?
Now, yeah.
All right,
Yes,
yeah.
sir.
Yeah, I think it was reported out there, during the regular season, right when we fired Matt Rule, man, that David Tepper met with other owners, across the NFL, man, to really understood, man, what it takes to run a football team and run a successful organization. We got to remember, man, Tepper, even though he come from that Pittsburgh, whole heritage and stuff over there and that winning thing. Tepper, man, he wasn't one of the majority owners over there with the Pittsburgh. He did have his share into the organization, man, but he wasn't a day-to-day football type or organization type of guy. I think he had to learn. Personally, I think it was all a learning experience for him. He had to see that, look, okay, well, we tried this formula of trying to have a young coach come in that didn't have any type of experience, following some of the, methods that other teams, that it worked out for other teams, and it just didn't work here in Carolina. I think this team was, too far away from being a contender for that method to work. You get what I'm saying? And this offseason, looking at what we've needed to do, well, one thing that was definitely true is that, and, on the other podcasts and stuff that I've been on, the Carolina Panthers had to be aggressive about finding a quarterback, man. Like, any team that goes 5+ years without solidifying their quarterback position, that's a lifetime in NFL, like, years. Like, that's a lifetime to go without trying to find a quarterback, man. That's embarrassing, honestly. No team should be going that long without having the quarter. It's the most important position that on the field. And bringing in Sam Darnold, a guy who didn't have any type of proven track record before he got here to Carolina, they thought that, Matt Rule and this staff could reignite his career, or not even reignite it, but ignite his career, to get started. And it was a complete failed experiment, and then, you gave away draft capital there. So not only did you missed on your quarterback, you gave draft capital away to bring in that guy. Then, you went all in on Deshaun Watson the following offseason. You didn't work it. You didn't want to guarantee him this money or whatever it is that it didn't. So what were you left with? You were left with bringing Baker Mayfield, another guy who was a first-round pick, top pick in the draft, and you thought that you could bring out his potential in them as well. These were all questionable moves that set the Carolina Panthers back for years. So now we're at a spot where Tepper, I think that he realized that, listen, we don't have time and to say that, hey, we got another 2 to 3 years to get this thing right. I think that his mindset is like, hey, listen, we need to try to make the moves that we need to make now to make the Panthers a contender, simply because the NFC South is down. This is an opportunity more than ever for the Carolina Panthers, man, to get on top and really run this division for a while, because these other teams are going through the same issues that we've been going through. They don't have quarterbacks, right? Well, the Saints, they have an above average quarterback now in Derek Carr. But still, I'm still not a believer in Dennis Allen as a coach. I'm not a believer in their coaching staff to get the job done. So I would say that if any time to strike is now for the Carolina Panthers.
I would agree 2 ways. Due to we having some key pieces still under rookie deals, like you said. Derek Brown is on the rookie deal. We can go ahead and extend Brian Burns. We got J.C. Horn, Jeremy Chin. A lot of the key pieces on defense are under those rookie deals. So I think striking now and getting our quarterback on a rookie deal while we have these players approaching the ending of their rookie contracts was definitely smart as well. I think the time for changing the regime, exactly like you said it was now.
Yeah, you're definitely right about that, CLT. We all know, if you know anything about football, or if you know a little about football, that it all starts with the quarterback position. Okay. Yep. That's at any level. You got to have a guy that can get the job done, right? So what we did the last 3 years was basically band-aid the problem. All right. Once Cam, left, we started with Teddy Bridgewater the first year. That was a band-aid. It didn't work out. Okay. Second year, you say, you know what? I want to go get Sam Darnold from the Jets. We traded for Sam Darnold. Okay. Came in, didn't work out. Matt Rule, picked up his 5th-year option. So we were stuck with him for 2 years. Even after the first year, he didn't do too well. So the 3rd year comes in. You say, you know what? We're not going to go with Sam Darnold, even though we're paying him $19 million. We're going to go and trade for Baker Mayfield. Okay. So we went and traded for Baker Mayfield.
Terrible decision, man. That was a terrible decision.
Me and Wavez, we talked about when going before it happened. I'm like, bro, if they trade for Mayfield, like that, it's another project that it's not gonna last. Because again, I watched Mayfield. I watched him in college. I watched him with the Browns, and he's not your franchise guy, right? So 3 years we put band-aids on the situation at quarterback, right? That's why we haven't won nothing. You got to have your guy. You look at the 2 teams that were just in the Super Bowl, the Chiefs, the Eagles, Pat Mahomes, Pat Mahomes and the Eagles quarterback.
Jalen Hurts.
I couldn't think of the name. I was trying to thought. Jalen Hurts. Those 2 guys, superior, great quarterbacks, right? That's why they made it to where they did in the Super Bowl. You got to start there. So this year is the first time since we drafted Cam Newton. I mean, people can talk about, we took Matt Corral in the, I think, 3rd round last year. Well,
we traded up to go get him.
Yep, we traded up to go get him. People say, well, we didn't see how he was going to pan out. Well, listen, usually the way the NFL has worked the last several years, you really don't find your guy, your franchise guy in the 3rd round. I mean, you got your examples of like Tom Brady and those guys who, got drafted late. Those are rare, right? It's rare.
Yeah.
Most of the guys who are top quarterbacks in the league are drafted from. You look at Lamar Jackson, Aaron Rodgers, all those guys.
He slid in the draft, though.
I mean, he did. He was still 1st round, though.
Yeah.
He's still 1st round.
No doubt.
That too.
Yep. So again, but that's usually the consensus, man, is that you get your quarterback, your franchise guy again, and of course you got those examples where you draft first round, don't work out. But
Right.
most of the time it does pan out for the most part. So by going to get the number one pick, we last time we had the number one pick was when we drafted Cam Newton. And we
Yep.
seen what that did for us, right? And I'm not saying it's gonna be the same Cam experience where he lead us to Super Bowl MVP. I don't know that yet. But what I'm saying is that you gotta go take that shot. You do your due diligence on the guy. You got to go get your quarterback, and then you build around him, right? So I think the Panthers have done a great job of saying, you know what, we're not going to band-aid the situation no more,
Right.
right? We at 9. This is our opportunity. We got some good guys coming out the draft this year.
Yes, sir.
Let's go get our guy, this year. Because we had a chance a couple years ago when Fields fell to us, and we took J.C. Horn, and that's a different conversation. We can talk about that. But
Yeah.
this year, we said, you know what? At 9, we may not have the guys fall to it that we really want, right?
Right.
So, like Federer came out and said he wanted to control the draft. So them being aggressive, making the moves, getting to number 1, put them in the position. So now now that you're gonna get your quarterback, you can build in the other areas of your team like we've done through free agency and to build around this young guy, right? Also
Yep.
we got a good, solid backup, Andy Dalton, proven veteran in the league, can tutor a young guy. We also got the staff in place to tutor a young quarterback, and develop him to the best that they can be.
Right.
So, that's what the Panthers have done, man. We taking, examples from other teams, like the Eagles, like the Chiefs, who I mentioned. Well, they drafted their guys, right? They drafted Pat Mahomes, Chiefs did. Jalen Hurts got drafted, you know. Um, they got drafted and they developed them, right? And then they built the team around them. Pat Mahomes, 2 Super Bowls, right? Jalen Hurts, Eagles been in the playoffs the last couple of years, 2, 3 years, right? So and making it to the Super Bowl this year. So that's the formula, guys. You cannot have a average quarterback in the NFL and expect you're gonna get to a Super Bowl.
Yeah,
Can't
that's
do it.
facts.
I
Go ahead,
think
COT.
what I wanted to add too, guys, is the job of our offensive line. We build our team inside out, right?
Yep.
Our offensive line is already intact. We drafted our left tackle last year, got him a year of experience in the league before we take our quarterback. Taylor Moton's always been a stalemate for us.
Yep.
Bozeman's back on a restructured deal. So with that being said, and we added to our run game by adding Miles Sanders. With that being said, it takes a lot off of our rookie quarterback by having that offensive line built and having that run game, so that first year they're not asked to do much, as in reading defense, because you can rely on that run game,
Right.
for him to develop mentally. You know what I'm saying? Get the speed of the game down. Learn how to read defenses. Learn how to take his check down. Rely on his coaching that rookie year. So I think the piece that we put in last year and also this year, what I'm saying, we have built inside out, and I feel like today this year, if we hit on the quarterback, we can definitely be successful because the pieces are already in place.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Both of y'all fellas made good point, man. I'm gonna pause for a quick promo, man. Listen, if you're new to the channel, make sure y'all like and subscribe to it. If you haven't done so already, hit that like button, man. Y'all understand? Excuse me. What that does for the algorithm, man. Helping your boy Big Waves out. Life is just a wave podcast, man. Subscribe to the channel, become a surfer today. Hit the like button on this video as well, man. We're here to talk about it today. Midday Madness in the mix, man. Right here, man. Everybody in the middle of their work day, man. So appreciate these boys for pulling up, talking on us on a Monday morning, man. We're here to talk about, is this the greatest off season the Carolina Panthers have ever had, and why? So, hey, listen, man. These boys have brought up some good points, man. We're gonna go ahead and move into our next topic here. So it was reported, man, out earlier today that the Panthers, Sports Illustrated brought this out. They're going to bring Jackson Smith-Njigba in, man, on a private workout here right before the draft. Now, JSN is obviously projected to be one of the top wide receivers going out. I honestly don't see him falling outside of the first round. But do you think the Panthers will get aggressive, man, and try to move up to go grab this guy, potentially teaming him up with C.J. Stroud? How would you guys feel about that?
I mean, I think it would be a good move. I mean, especially that might be showing their hand, man, that they are gonna draft Stroud. If they bring Jigba, since they did play Ohio State together. But I think, it wouldn't be a bad move. Depends on, again, I don't know what he projected as, if he's a first rounder or a second rounder. But there might be a good pickup if he's there at 39 and that second round pick. So again, they might be showing their hand, where they going, where they leaning, And I think and he may fall a little bit because I think he had some injuries this year.
He did. He did.
So but he was coming into this season, he was a first round pick, man. Coming into this, if it wasn't for those injuries, man, he probably would definitely be a top 15 pick in my opinion. But no, I like it. I mean, if he's there at 39, and depending on how the draft goes, and he could possibly be there, or they might trade up in the second round possibly to grab him if he's still there. Because to me, he's a first round talent, but teams might shy away from him because of the injuries, and he's not he's not a big receiver, but he definitely a playmaker. But I like it if we bringing him in, if we do draft Stroud, obviously they got chemistry already. They played together at Ohio State. Or if they do bring Bryce in, man, I mean, he's another playmaker that Bryce can work with as well. So I like it. I like it myself. If he's there, we can get him.
CLT, what you think about that, brother?
I think is great. I just don't see the scenario that we would give to get him. I don't think he's going to fall to 39.
I don't.
And if he does fall to the second round, like say he falls pick 33, right? We can trade up to get him, but what will we give up to give him? We don't have any. We have draft capital, but our draft capital limit, so I wouldn't go into draft capital. So that means we have to give up a player. What player does a team want to go from 39 to 33 with our swapping picks? I just don't see the capital that we have to go up and get him. I don't think he's going to fall at 39.
I got a couple names that we could give up, man, to go up there and get him. You know what I'm saying? And especially in that secondary, man. Dante Jackson. I listen, hey, CLT, I know I'm going to catch hell for this, man, but I'm not sold on Dante Jackson, man. And listen, he went to LSU. Listen, to me, man, the man has been injured every year of his career, like since he's been in Carolina. I think he only had one season where he played, probably his rookie year where he played full 16. I think he might have been hurt there. And then, man, when he's on the field, man, like he's not good against route, like pro route runners. Like when he goes up against the top competition, he doesn't thrive well, man, against good route runners. Yes, he has a ton of speed. To me, Dante Jackson is more of a, slot corner than anything. I don't see him being like, a outside corner. And the deal that we signed him to, man, I'm not even a fan of that deal that he got 2 years ago. So honestly, Dante Jackson to me is somebody that is I would be willing to come off of. CJ Henderson as well. Like I'm just not the depth behind JC Horn is very questionable to me at corner. Like I don't think that we have quality depth at corner outside of JC Horn. Like both of those.
I think that's the issue because Dante has to be our number two because we don't have a number two corner. And if you give up Dante and you also give up the second round pick, where do you replace Dante at?
Right. So you're right about that, CLT. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but that's what I was gonna say, man. We can't trade Dante Jackson for that pick. Just because you said it yourself. I mean, we don't have a lot of depth behind JC Horn. And yes, I mean, Dante Jackson has his issues. But right now, I mean, we don't have nobody else that can fill in to be a number two corner at this point. So that wouldn't be an option for us to trade him, because we just don't have nobody else and there's not, no good free agents out there that we could get to come in and be that number 2 cornerback that's left out there in the market. So yeah, that you got to give me another name, man, because Jackson is we can't trade him just due to depth. And we don't. There's nobody else that's better to come in and fill in and play right now.
You're absolutely correct, man. I'm trying to take a look, man, and see, with us having 28 million in cap space, do we think about bringing in, man, a veteran corner? Somebody that can come in, man. I think that we should. Now, obviously, we can address one in the draft, but you're talking about with the picks that we have left, man. I don't know if there might be a guy worth taking there at 39 at the cornerback position. So when I'm looking at some of these names on the quarterback, cornerback market out there, Carolina may want to take a look at some of these names that are out there, man.
Give me somebody. Who you think we should bring in?
Let's see here. First, let me go to a list that shows the guys that have already been picked up, because I don't think.
Let's get the ones that's available.
Yeah. Let me take a look at it, man. Hold on 1 second. Marcus Peters still out there? Yeah. Is Marcus Peters still? I think he's still.
You have to trade for Marcus Peters.
Yeah, I think he under contract. Yeah, I don't think he's a free agent.
Hold on. I'm double checking right now. Give me a second, fellas.
You got to trade for him. They wanted him to take a pay cut. He said no.
Yeah, he's still under contract.
Yeah, they're trying to move him, but you got to trade for him. You might have to give
1 second. I'm taking a look right now.
Let's see. Hold on. Now, I just pulled up something. It does say that, man. He's an unrestricted free agency.
Yeah, he a free agent, man. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm looking at an article, man, from the 24th, and it says the best fit for Marcus Peters in free agency.
Rocky Asen, cornerback from the Colts, played with Frank Wright. Rocky Asen is still out there available. A good guy, man. Over the past 2 seasons, Yasin's he got a 74.4 coverage grade, and man, he's still available out there. A guy that you could bring in. Marcus Peters is still a free agent. Shaquille Griffin, name is still out there. Anthony Brown, Eli Apple. Eli Apple is a name that's out there that's interesting.
Hell no to Eli Apple. Hell no.
Hey, man, Eli Apple played well, man, for the Bengals, like over the last 2 years. He's played well.
He's played decent at best. Decent at best. He's not well.
But we just talking about depth. We talking about depth.
I would say Shaquille Griffin, but you got to pay him the bag. I mean, I think you have to give him more than 7-8 million.
Yeah. Well, Patrick Peterson, he's not still available. He signed with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Hey, Mike Hughes is another name that's out there as well, man. That's still available out there, man. That the Carolina Panthers need to take a look into. But that Marcus Peters is interesting, man. That's interesting. He had a slow start to the season, but he got better as the season, man. You're talking about a good veteran cornerback, man, that you can bring in here, man. And that's really what I think the Panthers need. If you look at times where our secondary was at the best, even in that 2015 year, man, where we had Peanut Tillman and all those guys, we had veteran corners on the roster. I think we should take a swing, man, and bringing in one of these veteran corners, man, on a 1 or 2 year deal.
One thing about Marcus Peters, though, do you think he fits our new mantra? Marcus Peters can be a diva as a corner. You know what I'm saying? So do you think that's a fit for Frank Wright's regime? Well, Evro's regime. Now he's nasty. He's a good player. He tackles. You know what I'm saying? So I think he's a great player. But do you think that veteran coming in with the attitude that he has would be a good fit for Carolina?
I think it will. I mean, I don't see a reason why it wouldn't be.
CLT, you hit the hell. I mean, he is a diva at corner. We know that. I think if he would only be a good fit if he come in with the right mindset. Okay, obviously I'm here to play. I got to know my role, and I'm here tutor some of these young guys, and not have that diva personality that he's had in the past. Like if he can come in and do that, and play his role on this team, and not cause any issues, and as long as he know his role, I think he could potentially be a good fit. And he just have to come in at the right money. Again, I don't know what he's asking for on the mark, because he is a older guy. Depends on the right deal, and if he knows his role, I think he could be a good fit.
Yeah, it's a lot of decent names, man, that are out there, man. TJ Carey, like I said, Rocky Sin to me is the best available corner right now, man. Like from an age perspective, Jason Verrett name is still out there. Shaq, like I said, Shaq Griffin, he wanted a lot of money with the but to me, Rocky Sin, man, is a name that really is interesting to me. It really is, man, because this is a guy who played for Frank Wright when he was with Indianapolis Colts. He's rated right now as the 6th best cornerback perspective, and he's played a full season in his career. He only missed 10 games over the last couple of years, but overall, 27 years old, man, and still could come in and be a solid corner for us, man. I think that's a name that the Panthers should take a look at, man. Just trying to get to a 1 or 2 year deal. I think that we should make a move for one of these veteran corners. It's some solid names that's still available out there too. Another veteran name out there, Bradley Roby. Granted, he's 31 years old, but that's a veteran corner, man, that you can bring. Basically, what I'm saying is, fellas, that we need depth at that position. Like I'm not sold on what we have in the quarterback room right now. Yes, we could draft one. I think you still draft one if one is there, but I think that we should think about bringing in Troy Hill, another person that was with the Rams last year, had a decent year, played opposite of Jalen Ramsey. He could come in and do a good job. And y'all say what you want about Eli Apple. Eli Apple only 28 years old, man. He was supposed to sign with Carolina for a year, and he's actually played decent, man, with the Bengals. He was a starting corner, and they've been to the AFC Championship in the Super Bowl. So there's some names out there, man, the Panthers really should take a look at. I'm really trying to bring in to help this cornerback room, man, because I just don't feel comfortable with it, because there's no guarantee that J.C. Horn is going to play a full 16 games. There's no guarantee that Dante Jackson is going to play a full 16 games. And even corner is probably the hardest position to transition from college to the NFL. Even if you bring in a young corner or draft a young corner, you need to bring in a veteran guy, man, that can really come in here that already knows what they need to do. That's why I was kind of mad that the Panthers didn't even try to go back and try to bring in what's my man that just signed with the Dallas? He used to be on the Panthers, or signed him to a 1 year deal from the Colts.
Who was cornerback?
Yeah, the corner. He was with the Panthers on the Gilmore, Stephon Gilmore.
Stephon Gilmore. Okay.
Yeah, they traded him for a fifth round pick, man. That was a 5th round pick that they got. Dallas brought him in for a 5th round pick. I would have loved to bring him back here in Carolina, man, for a cheap deal. You could have brought him, man, traded him for a 5th round, sign him into a 2 year deal.
But see, what I'm gonna tell you what it was with that. So after he was with us, he was a free agent after that year, and the money that he was wanting, man, because that's why the Patriots got rid of him. He was wanting top dollar at the time, right? Because he was coming off a Pro Bowl year from the year before, he got hurt. But he was looking for top dollar, man, and we couldn't pay him the money that he was asking. So then he realized, the market showed, he wouldn't go get the money that he wanted to get. So he ended up signing with and they ended up trading him. But that's why the Panthers didn't bring him back after that last year. Or the year before last.
The Colts signed him to like a 2 year deal. It was only like 12 or 13 million. He didn't even get that kind of crazy money when he was with the Colts. They signed him to like a guaranteed. It was like he had like a guarantee like 8 or 9 million a year, something like that. Like at the max, it was nothing crazy.
Yeah, well, that's because that's what I'm saying. He was wanting at the time north of 10 million per year, which we couldn't pay that. for him, man. We couldn't pay the $10 million. I think they might have offered him a deal, but the money that he was asking for, I remember reading we couldn't pay it, and so he ended up going with them. And let me see. Let me see. I'm gonna see what his deal was.
Hey, while you doing that, man, I'm gonna go ahead and do some quick promo. Listen, man, if you're new to the channel, make sure y'all go ahead and like and subscribe, man. Life is just a wave. Midday Madness. We already been on here for an hour. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Y'all already know what time it is, man. We on headed to that next goal of hitting 800 subs. Y'all helped your boy get there, man. Join the wave. Become a surfer today. Midday Madness, man, brought to you by Life is Just a Wave podcast. Shout out to CLT, big bro in the building, man. We talking about is this the greatest offseason in Carolina Panthers history, man. What are y'all thoughts on it in the comments? Also the Cash App is scrolling across the screen. Anybody feeling generous today, man? Anything that you like, man, whatever you want to donate will be greatly appreciated. Shout out to all of my servers out there. Stand up in the building. We here to talk about it, man. But I don't care what y'all boys talking about. Hey, look, Marcus Peters may be a diva at corner, but he brings a different type of attitude to the cornerback position, right? And at 30 years old, free agent right now, the Panthers should see about trying to bring Marcus Peters in on a 1-year deal. Prove it deal to see that he still got it. I would sign Marcus Peters to a 1-year deal and allow him to compete with Dante Jackson in those groups for a corner. Even if he's not the starter, he can't beat Dante Jackson out. I would have that guy come in, man, and compete because I'm just not sold on that cornerback room. I'm not sold on it, man. Like outside of Dante, JC Horn, I'm not sold on it. And this is the thing. JC is no lock to start every game. He's not, man. Like he's been hurt for the past 2-3 seasons. He's been hurt. CJ Henderson would be a Pro Bowl corner in any other corner in the league if you have a savage D-line. That's a damn lie, Brandon. I'm sorry, Brandon. I can't agree with that. CJ Henderson is a liability in coverage.
He is. And just to follow up on that Gilly stuff. So he signed with the Colts on a 2-year, $20 million deal, man. Like I said, $10 million a year.
$20 million?
Yep, that was his deal.
So 10 year?
Yep, he signed.
That's not bad.
You gotta think about it too. At the time that we were trying to re-sign him, we had no promise. We were still in the Matt Rule, so that's another reason he probably didn't want to re-sign with us.
That's facts. I can give you that. That's definitely factual. I give you that.
Yeah, so he got the money that he was asking because he was looking for a deal. I remember $10 million per year or more. That's what he was looking for at the time.
Yeah.
So the coach gave it to him, man. But Brandon, like I say, man, CJ Henderson is not a Pro Bowl. I mean, so far, I'm gonna say this: he hasn't proven to be a Pro Bowl cornerback down in Jacksonville. He was a number 1 pick. I mean, a first-round pick. He's been in Carolina for 2 years.
Hasn't shown anything.
He hasn't shown any promises of being a Pro Bowl quarterback. So again, this year's like his test, man, to see if this coaching staff can get anything out of this guy. I mean, and I hope so. I want Henderson to be there because I watched him when he was at Florida, and he was a good quarterback when he was in college. That's why he got drafted in the first round. I mean, but I don't I don't think it. He hasn't shown it. Until he showed me otherwise, he is not a Pro Bowl corner.
Omar, what's good with you? DJ Free, what's up with you, man? Somebody just asked in the chat, do you think y'all traded number 1 pick to the Ravens? Towards BIG, absolutely not, man. That Lamar Jackson is just too expensive right now. And not only will we have to give up 2 picks for him, we're going to have to sign him to a big deal. So I don't see him here in Carolina. I definitely don't see that. But shout out to Omar, man. Hey, appreciate that, Omar. Appreciate the support. All right, fellas, man, we're going to go ahead and move on to our next topic, man, on this Midday Madness. So right now, it's been reported here as well. The Carolina Panthers are the number 1 destination trade for DeAndre Hopkins. They said even despite the moves of bringing in Adam Thielen and DJ Shark, D-Hop is the Carolina Panthers are the number 1 trade spot based on their available cap space and their trade. And they said that obviously the Cardinals are asking for a 2nd-round pick. Nobody's going to give them a 2nd-round pick for DeAndre Hopkins, but a potential 3rd-round pick for D-Hop. Is this something that the Carolina Panthers should entertain bringing in DeAndre Hopkins?
If we do so, like you said, for a third round pick, that would then push Jackson Nigba out of the conversation.
Absolutely, without a doubt.
So, yes, I think if we can get him for a third round pick, yeah, I wouldn't mind trading for him. Our receiver core would be more veterans, in addition to with Terrence Marshall, which you can say he's gonna be his third year. So yeah, that's a nice move that would save us a second round pick for us to go and get that corner that you're speaking of, or add to the defensive end depth. So we can get him at third. It's a plus.
I think maybe for a late third round, maybe. I might consider it. D Hop, I love D Hop, but I think, at this point, man, in his career with what we already have, give me 1 second.
Nah, you good. So just want to read just some of the certs from this article that came out here. Rumors have been swirling all season. The base of the entire Denver receiving courts is on the trading block. Sean Payton did come out today and say that Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutherland are off the market, that they will not be returned. Hopkins has been the biggest name on the trading block all offseason in a year where elite wide receivers are hard to come by, because we have to remember, even though with the additions of Adam Thielen and DJ Shark, the Panthers still don't have a true number one wide receiver. He's still an option that must be tempting for several teams, and even with his contract, that contract is going to be obviously an outlier and probably will be restructured with any type of trade that he got. Hopkins has gained over 2.0 yards per route run for his entire career, despite having a rough quarterback situation. Even at 30 years old, he's still a top 10 wide receiver when healthy in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. But like I said, to finish my point, man, I think bringing Hopkins in with what we already got. Again, it's only one ball, man. And Hopkins, he could he got a really person. I don't know, man, if he can play a mentor role to these young guys, if he willing to do that. Because Hopkins, man, he be wanting the ball, and he got that wide receiver diva mentality, man. So like I said, I might consider it late third.
You can never have too many wide receivers, though. That's one thing.
You can't, but you want to make sure the room is right, though. Because ultimately we want to develop some of these young guys, what we have, and also it just has to be right. We don't want to because again, you still got Shark there, you got Thielen, then you bring in D Hop. Depends on it. That just goes back to the role, man. He want to come in and play so it just got to be for the right price, man. I can't say it. It just got to be for the right price. Maybe late third, early fourth rounder. I was reading a report, man. They were saying he's really only worth for like a 6th rounder.
I wouldn't be surprised.
So I mean, if we can get him like that on that deal or something like that, 6th rounder, man. Hey, go ahead and pull the trigger on that. And get Hopkins, man. And because he's had some issues the past couple of years with staying on the field. So,
this year it was just suspension.
I mean, but that's it. You're still not on the field. I mean, yeah. Regardless of what it is for, injuries or suspension. We this the NFL is about what can you do for me now. If you ain't on the field producing, man, hell, I don't need you. So I mean that decreases your value when you can't play. So that's my thing, man. We can get them. I'm gonna say, I probably would do like a 4th, or early 4th or something, a 4th or maybe a late third. I consider, to get a trade for D Hop, man. Bring him back home, towards his way. Mm-hmm.
And my thing about, man, why I'm intrigued about this D Hop trade is because, again, even with the additions of Adam Thielen and DJ Shark is only signed to a 1-year deal. Terrence Marshall Jr. is still emerging. We is yet to see if he can really take the step as becoming a number one wide receiver. I think he has that potential, but obviously we need to see a little bit more from him. And Adam Thielen, man, is going to be more of your possession, red zone type of target wide receiver. So I still think that we're missing a true number one receiver in this wide receiving core. for me, DeAndre Hopkins, man, I see it like this and what he can do for this football team. Obviously, you give in a corner, a guy that we know that's going to be able to beat any one-on-one coverage. And for a young quarterback, you need something like that, right? Now, obviously, this offense could thrive without DeAndre Hopkins, but I think that bringing him in takes this offense over the top. Like, I do not think this offense is a complete product by any stretch of the imagination. I think that they've done a good job of bringing in some really good pieces. I would still love to see another playmaking threat in the wide receiving room outside of the guys that we've already brought in. And on top of that, I would love to add another running back, man, to this running back room. But Hopkins, man, for me, if you got a chance to get him, man, and, you know, he's out there and we can make a deal happen for a 4th, 5th round pick or something like that, I think it's a no-brainer that you got to at least pull the trigger. Yes, his deal is, man, I would have, honestly, trade him, come in, restructure his deal to a point where it's basically incentive-based, probably where it's not hurting the team at all over the next couple of years. Scott Fitterer has done a great job of doing stuff like that. But if you got a chance to go get DeAndre Hopkins, you got to go get a D-Hop.
I mean, like I say, man, I wouldn't mention what you got to also consider too, though. You know, you don't want to. Again, I like Hopkins, but it could also be a bad situation when you got a rookie quarterback, because you know he wants the ball, man. You know what I'm saying? And if Hopkins is the type of person, man, he'd be in the rookie year just like. Kind of, I remember when Steve Smith came when Cam's rookie year, and that relationship, man, can be kind of crazy for a rookie, and depending on how he would handle it. So I mean, having Hopkins at number 1 with a rookie, and if the rookie making mistakes, which we know that's gonna happen, that relationship, man, may not be good. You know, Hopkins may not respond well with that. So again, it just has to be, man.
But he's played with bad quarterbacks his whole career.
I mean, it's not even, but it's not necessarily bad. It's the fact that it's a rookie quarterback, right? You know what I'm saying? It's a rookie guy, and again, depends on what his role wants to be. Like, this is the question you got to ask him. Like, bro, you know we got to like, you can't come in. I know you trying to get off because you trying to prove it too, you know, but it's gonna be some struggles. Like, it's gonna be some struggles, bro. You know what I'm saying? Because I mean, even him and Kyler Murray didn't have a good of a relationship, man. Like, you need a good, solid relationship with your quarterback. So I mean, Hopkins, again, I consider it, man, but it would just have to be right for me, man. I can't just, you know, I know what he done, but this situation may not be the best situation for him coming in at this point in his career. Playing.
Go ahead, COT.
What I was gonna say also, depending on who we draft, quarterback receiver relationship is a risk too, because if we take Stroud and we try to get Jackson Nibba, he may try to force him the ball because of familiarity. So you're gonna always have risk between those two, quarterback and receiver. Yeah. So you just gotta roll the dice. You know what I'm saying, with the coaching staff and with the head coach that we have. You know, he got to be able to discipline, put everything into perspective.
And see, that's kind of where I am from it. And shout out to Jeff R for saying this. He said Hopkins understands the situation. The coaching staff will explain that to him day one. Absolutely, right? Like again, man, I just think with this coaching staff, there's not going to be any personalities on this team. Like, I just don't see it being any kind of personalities or anything like that on this team. I think that it has to be very clear to understand, because you got to remember, Hopkins doesn't have a say-so on where he goes. He voided his non-trade clause when he got suspended for PED usage last year. So he can't decide where he goes at all. So whatever team gives the Cardinals the best deal for it, he will be traded. So, the Baltimore Ravens make a lot of sense, but I think the Carolina Panthers at least have to try to see about it, right? And see about what it would take to try to bring him in, because I think that the more weapons that you have for this wide receiver, for this young quarterback, the easier the transition will be for him. Like, let's keep it real. DJ Shark and Adam Thielen, they were like number 2, number 3 guys on their former teams. You get what I'm saying? So these guys can come in and still make plays and still be contributors to this offense, but I still think that we're missing the number 1 wide receiving threat, once you traded DJ Moore away. So I'm happy with the moves that we made, but if you can go and get a DeAndre Hopkins for a 4th or 5th round pick, then I'm absolutely saying pull the trigger on that. Try to bring this guy in, even if we only keeping him for 2 years. I think it's very much worth to try to go and get this guy. I really do.
One thing about the D-Hop trade is though, their GM is more of a draft day trade because you see what they made last year for Hollywood Brown. They might try to trade D-Hop on draft day. You know what I'm saying? To hold the market out, see what they can get for him, and trade him on draft. So he might go cheap on draft day.
Yeah, he could definitely be a cheaper option on draft day, man. But definitely an interesting topic to do it, man. Quick promo here. Hey, look, if you're new to the channel, man, Midday Madness, we are in the mix. We're approaching that hour and a half mark here on the live. Like and subscribe to the channel. Know everybody in the middle of their workday, man. We appreciate y'all for pulling up here to the YouTube channel. If you have not subscribed, make sure y'all hit that. And also, for all of my subscribers, turn on your notification. Hit that red bell, man, at the top. So every time your boy Big Wave is dropping content, man, you guys are notified right away when your boy going live here on the channel. Got CLT in the building, Big Bro in the building, man. We here to talk about it. Let me answer some of these questions here in the comments. So if we get Hop, who's sitting going to be our fourth wide receiver, Terrace Marshall Jr.? Hey, absolutely. I think Adam Thielen is going to play more in the slot. He's going to be more of a slot wide receiver than an outside wide receiver at this point in his career. Adam Thielen is probably going to be our slot, wide receiver, short yardage possessions when we need a quick first down. He's going to be that red zone type of thought. DJ Shark will probably play on the outside. He has number one wide receiver potential, but even with the Lions last year, he was the second or third best wide receiver there. So, again, I still think Terrace Marshall Jr., he's going to have to prove that he can stay healthy for a full season. He did make a lot of plays. I'm hoping that he takes a step this year, but I still think that we can add an additional wide receiver to that room, veteran wide receiver, or if you're going to go get somebody with that 39th pick at wide receiver there. But, again, man, just talking about the D-Hop and would it make sense for the Carolina Panthers to go ahead and make that move? But Adam Thielen is definitely going to be a slot wide receiver for Carolina. He's not going to be an outside guy.
Yeah, in the piggyback off your point, man, honestly, when you're talking about true number one, DJ Moore wasn't a true number one receiver, man.
What?
No, listen to me.
Oh.
DJ Moore.
Gotta hear this.
He was only he's a number one. Well, I'm gonna say this. He developed into a number one receiver. When he came out, when we drafted, he wasn't number one receiver. When we drafted him. Y'all can go back and look it up. He developed into a number one receiver, and became that guy. And that's what we're hoping. When you talk about we don't have that number one, we have Terrace Marshall, who can develop into a number one receiver, right? Also too, Shark has potential to be a number one receiver. They haven't shown it yet because they've been playing with other receivers. Just like when Moore came in, he developed into a number one receiver. But DJ Moore, coming out of college, he was more so possession number two receiver. You go back and look at the tape on him. He wasn't number one receiver.
Oh, yeah.
So he developed into that guy due to Carolina. We didn't have after Steve Smith left, we didn't have nobody else. But he developed into that. So meaning when we say that we don't have a number one, a true number one on the roster, I think we potentially do got that. They drafted Terrace Marshall early, in the second or third? Was it second or third? Okay, to be a number one receiver. You don't get drafted in the second round to be a number two receiver, right? So Marshall has that potential to be that guy. He's a big receiver. He's fast. He can develop into that. And again, I like Shark. I like the 1 year prove-it deal for DJ Shark. Shark could be that guy. He may show that. Again, I don't know, but I think we don't necessarily need D-Hop. That's into our receiver room. I think the guys we got now is pretty solid, and again, it's also back to relationships, man, and how do you want that recruit? Like, again, we try and develop these young guys, right? Shark is still young. So, is Hop gonna come in here and help develop these guys, or he's looking to be the true number one and try to prove and get some more money? What is his role gonna be? So I'm iffy about bringing them in, man. Again, it would have to be for the right price, the right deal, man. We can't overpay him and give up. Again, to me, he probably worth, to me, at best, a 4th-round pick. You know, right now, man, based on what he done the last 2 years, right?
So I
So that, I mean,
disagree with the DJ Moore analysis, right? Because DJ Moore been the 1,000-yard wide receiver pretty much every year that he's been here in Carolina.
Yeah. But my
So
man make a good point though. MDJ 365. You right, bro. DJ Moore is a lot of people overrated him because we didn't have nobody else here. So of course he gonna be number one. But
overrated,
Moore,
man. I can't call DJ Moore overrated, man. It's not too many wide receivers that have the playmaking ability he has once the ball is in his hand, man. He turned into a running back, once the ball is in his hand. And like I said, this is a guy that has had over 1,000 yards, obviously, to this past year because we didn't have quarterback play, but still finished with like 700 or 800 yards. So I'm not going to say that he's an overrated number one wide receiver at all. I think that he was very much worth what we got for him in return for a trade. But my thing about what I'm saying is that Terrace Marshall Jr., big reason why DJ Shark has not become a number one wide receiver, even when he was in Jacksonville, people are forgetting that he started his career there. He couldn't stay healthy. DJ Shark has had a ton of injuries over his career, and basically why the Carolina Panthers probably signed him to a 1-year deal is because he can't stay healthy. Like DJ, if you go look at DJ Shark's seasons since he's been in the NFL, I don't think he's put a full 16-game season together since he's been in the NFL. He's always stayed hurt. And Terrace Marshall Jr., we all know he has injury history as well. So, yeah, the jury is out on these guys. I think that, yes, these guys have the potential to be great. But the question to me is, are these guys going to play a full season?
But
that's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, but that's my point with Hopkins. He hasn't been on the field the last 2 years. So, meaning it's the same thing. It's about the NFL is about what can you do for me now, right? Whether you suspended.
I mean, this year it was suspension, man.
But it don't matter. What I'm saying, it doesn't matter if you're not playing on the field, whether it's suspension or injuries. There's nothing you could do, right? Because you're not playing. So
I agree.
Your point with Shark and Marsh, yeah, you're right. They had injuries and haven't had a chance to prove it, and themselves. So again, I like the Shark deal. That's why we brought him in for 1 year. It's basically a 1-year prove it deal.
It is.
If he go out and have a great season and put up number one numbers, we probably gonna end up re-signing him. If he showed that. And Marshall, he's developing. We drafted him in the 2nd round. Yeah, usually guys you draft in the 1st and 2nd round, especially at receivers, is either gonna be heavily involved in your offense or gonna be a number one. So Marshall, and he showed flashes last year that I seen, man, that Marshall can be pretty good.
I agree.
So I mean, Moore. Again, when we traded Moore from I was cool with that. I mean, Moore, he's a great receiver, but we can, we can live without him. Is what I'm saying. We didn't have to have him here, in order to be successful. Yeah, he 1,000-yard, because he damn near was the only person we had to throw the ball to. The last few years. So I mean, of course, he's gonna get his 1,000 yards. That's easy. Robbie Anderson, he had the one good 1,000-yard season. When him and Moore both had 1,000-yard season, but that was it. But man, I'm ready to see what these guys that we got on the roster, what they can do, man. I like Hopkins, and it just would have to be the right situation and right fit to come here, man, and give us a check. But I like what we currently got in the stable, what we done so far. I mean, if you want to draft Hopkins and they willing to take a 6th-round pick for, go ahead and pull the trigger on it. I'll say do that all day. But the Panthers don't need to get desperate, man, and try to go get Hopkins for something crazy,
Yeah, I agree. I 100% agree with that. It got to make sense, you know what I'm saying? But the only thing that I was saying about this argument, fellas, and, CLT, you can say your piece on it, man, before we move to the next topic is if a guy like that becomes available, man, like you definitely got to at least pick up the phone and see what it would take to try to bring somebody in. And then I get about having a good room, but, I don't see D-Hop as a person, man, that's like a problem. I don't see him as a problematic wide receiver, man. If you look, this man has played with nothing but trash quarterbacks probably his whole career. At one point in time, man, he had T.J. Yates throwing him the ball. T.J. Yates, man. Y'all don't even remember T.J. Yates. from Carolina. You know what I'm saying? So like,
Yeah, when he was down in Houston, I remember. Yeah.
Yeah, so he had a lot of bad quarterbacks throwing him the ball, man. And you didn't hear this man complain about like not getting the ball or anything like that. He's played with trash quarterbacks probably 90% of his career. And when he got to the Cardinals, the thing with the Cardinals, man, is that team is in a rebuilding mode. They're trying to shed his salary. The reason why he's getting going is because it's a salary dump. That's the only reason why the Cardinals are even talking about trading him right now. Because, bruh, this goes to show you how good D-Hop is. He was suspended 6-7 games last year and still came back without a quarterback in Kyler Murray and put up 700 yards last season, being suspended 6 games. That's amazing for that guy, man. I mean, if you got a chance to go get somebody, I'm not saying that we give up the farm to get a DeAndre Hopkins, but if you can get him, man, I would definitely give a 3rd or 4th round pick for D-Hop. I would definitely give that because a lot of the holes, like you got to understand with the moves that we've made so far in free agency, a lot of the holes on the Panthers team right now are not dire. For me, the draft is only going to be adding in depth. Even if you decide to go wide receiver with that 2nd pick, that's adding depth. If you decide to go corner with that 2nd pick, that's adding depth. If you decide to go linebacker, to me is the only position that if you take right there, it's solidifying a role. The rest of it is going to be all just bringing in depth to compete with the starters that we already have based off of the moves that we've had in free agency. So going to get somebody like a D-Hop, to me, I don't see how that could hurt the team in any form or fashion. His contract won't stay that. You know that it'll get restructured if you try if you bring him in. And honestly, I just don't see any downside of bringing in one of the top wide receivers in the NFL. I don't see that.
Yeah, I would just have to say I disagree that DJ Moore wasn't a number 1 receiver. One wasn't drafted to be number 1 receiver. Since year 1, he's been a 1,000-yard receiver. Now you can say he gradually grew into a better player, and as you expect your players to gradually, you expect your players to get better every year. But I can't say I agree that DJ was not number 1.
Yeah, he definitely a number 1 wide receiver, man, hands down, man. Hey, quick promo, then we moving on to the next topic, man. Hey, shout out to everybody that done pulled up here today. Life is Just a Wave podcast, man. We in the building, midday madness, not March madness, midday madness, man. Carolina Panther talk. Greatest offseason ever for the Carolina Panthers. We talking about why, what else could make this offseason the best, what we can continue to do. And we haven't even got to the quarterback topics, man. That's going to be our last topic of the show. Let's go ahead and get into the next one, man. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe to it. Life is Just a Wave podcast. Man, y'all, thank y'all so much for helping me get to that 700 mark. We eclipsed the 700 mark from last show that went nuts. Y'all, man, appreciate it, man. Shout out to everybody, man. Much love to everybody, man, that's been helping your boy. Now we're on the road to 800. Hit that like button on this video, man. It helps the algorithm. Y'all subscribe, become a surfer today. For all my people that are already surfers, man, keep your eye on the community channel and the community section of YouTube. Guys, I post a lot of breaking news in that community channel, man, so make sure y'all take a look at that. Shout out to everybody, man. Let me shout out to a couple people. Dead Rabbit, Jeff R, Shot by Dre, Teal, NC Teal, what's good with it? Corey Waters, shout out to everybody, man, that's been pulling up. Got CLT and Big Bro in here. We're going to move on to the next topic, man. Right now, the Carolina Panthers still have the 2nd most free agent cap space in the NFL, only behind the Chicago Bears in the NFL with all of the moves that we've made as a compliment to Scott Fitterer. But there's one position that we still have yet to address, and that is defensive end opposite of Brian Burns. Also, on top of that, Brian Burns has yet to be extended and have his contract put into place. Maybe that's what we're saving this free agency cap space for. But to the first part of this, why haven't the Panthers made a move to bring in free agent defensive end where there's a lot of good names out there? One of the names that stick out specifically, Yannick Ngakoue, age 28, has played for Frank Reich before. Still a great defensive end, can stand up in the 3-4 scheme. Robert Quinn, a guy who just is 1 year removed from having 15, 16 sacks. Granted, he's a little bit older, age 33. Name is still out there. Jadeveon Clowney is a name that is still out there that has not been picked up. Age 30, would probably be able to get him for a dirt cheap deal to bring him back home to the Carolinas. For those that don't know, Jadeveon Clowney played for South Carolina and also is from Rock Hill. There's a ton of names out here, man. So why haven't the Panthers made a move to try to bring in one of these free agent defensive ends, big bro? Jenkins, what's up with you, man? Go ahead.
I think they waiting to see. They made a lot of moves so far. I think they waiting to see what they're gonna do in the draft. Because free agency, doesn't stop, man. They can sign people all the way up, to 53 training camp and stuff. So I think the reason they haven't brought nobody in yet because they might be looking to draft in the draft, and we even had it in our mock draft thing on the other live last week that we're going to be taking the DN in the draft this year. So I think that's what they're waiting to see. I think after the draft comes, then we may see another signing, possibly, depending on how it works. Again, we always see stuff right before training camp. So I think, again, it's not, free agency isn't over, man. We still can make moves. They still got plans. So, they're just waiting. They're just waiting to see what's, what they're gonna do in the draft, and also what a team's gonna do. Because the longer you wait, like for free agency, those guys like you name Clowney and stuff, they willing to take less, man, to what they originally want because they haven't signed yet. So it gets down to the season starting, right before training camp. Okay, now I got $2 or $3 million left. I might sign him to a 1-year deal for $2 or $3 million, something like that. So again, it's still early, and they probably wait until after the draft. Is what
Yeah, 100%, man. I 100% agree with that. Hey, anybody that want to pull up to the channel, man, we are doing an open session right now. Anybody want to pull up, man, and give their thoughts on the Carolina Panthers? Is this the greatest offseason in Carolina Panthers history? Go ahead and pull up, man. We're going to run this thing until about 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern. So if anybody want to pull up to the channel, man, the link is in the comments to the StreamYard to get anybody perspective on how you feel about the Carolina Panthers moves that they made this offseason and what we should do. Right now, the topic is free agent defensive ends that are available for the Carolina Panthers. What are you guys' thoughts? Who should we bring in? And what moves should we be making to bring in somebody opposite of Brian Burns?
I think, like you said, we got Jadeveon Clowney still available. You been point out a notable name from the Colts that was under Frank Reich.
Yannick Ngakoue.
As well, he's still available. I wonder how much he's commanding for a free agency signing. And then another point that I didn't think of is how having that available space for Brian Burns extension. So that's a great point because in the draft we're not going to be able to fill all three needs with top picks, which is quarterback, defensive end, receiver, and we still need corner depth. So that free agency, those free agency names and defensive end can definitely help us between Jadeveon Clowney and the kid from the Colts, so that we won't have to use any draft capital on the defensive end.
Yeah, that's my thoughts with the CLT is, I think that, man, the Panthers, when they've been at their best, especially on amongst the defensive line, is when they've had a veteran defensive end come in. Hence, when we had in your boy that we let go to the Eagles, what's his name, man, the defensive end that we had, he had like double-digit sacks for us 2 years ago. Played for the Eagles now. I can't think of his name right off the top. Somebody remind me. Can y'all hear me?
You said the kid from the Eagles?
Yeah, the defensive end that we let walk go to the Eagles. What's his name?
Hassan Reddick.
Hassan Reddick. Yeah, so when our defensive line was at its best, we had a veteran defensive end that was opposite of Brian Burns, right? And I feel like that's what we need to do, man. You can bring in, especially in this 3-4 scheme, you can bring in somebody like Jadeveon Clowney, pay him pennies, 1-year prove-it deal, and see what he has left. I think Yannick Ngakoue, pay him pennies, 1-year deal, see what they got left to make sure that we're getting consistent pressure, man, from the edge. Now, I see somebody said something about Amari Barno. Amari Barno, man, he ran a 4.39 all speed, but he still has some development to go there, man. What's y'all thoughts on Barno?
I like Barno, man. He definitely can develop to get on the field, man. Like, I stated this in the previous show. ultimately, man, we want to get, some depth, especially on that front line,
Yeah.
um, and get a good rotation going. So whether we bring in a guy in free agency or develop what we have, we just have to, you know, make sure that we got some depth and get some rotation, man, because NFL game is 60 minutes is low, man. Those D linemen be the first ones to get tired. So we need a good solid rotation. And we just address that need. But I like Barno though. I think he can develop. I mean, we just got to see how far he can come in. When they start OTAs and training camp, man, see if he can get some good valuable playing time. But I do like him. He can develop into a good solid DN. Again, they're in the 3-4 defense, right? So really,
Plays to his strengths.
it does. I mean, the speed fight, yeah, it does play. He can be that hybrid outside linebacker slash DN that can rush the quarterback and can stand up,
Yep.
right? So,
That's
I mean, that's gonna be big for us. Go ahead, CLT.
I think Barnos need to be working as we speaking. He needs to be working on the off season, getting better, getting bigger. Yes, he's fast, but we definitely in a 3-4 scheme, we're gonna need him to be bigger as far as weight,
Yeah,
as far as strength. Developing some of those pass rush skills, as far as the swim move, any technique to develop them. But he definitely has the speed, and that's the thing that Hassan Reddick and Brian Burns have. We were never speed rushers. You know what I'm saying? We didn't have anybody that was, bull rush defensive end. So he has what we already had at the position, which is speed. He just has to develop, get a little bit bigger, and hopefully he's working hard in the offseason to become number two. Because YGM is not it.
oh yeah. Gross motto is definitely is not it. And especially in this scheme, But I agree with you. Definitely get big and develop those pass rushing skills because that's really the key in the 3-4. But Danny using linebacker safety more for pressure in this scheme. The 3-4 is basically designed. You gonna get pressure from your outside linebackers. In this 3-4 screen, you're gonna have.
Frankie Louvu should have a breakout year this year. I mean, he already done had a breakout year, but I think this is going to be a huge year for Frankie this year.
Yeah, you got your four linebackers. So you should be able to get pressure. You have to get pressure from your linebackers, man. That's on the outside, because they're gonna be primarily, rushing in most of the calls. To answer your question, but you say we haven't had this since Greg Hardy and Charles Johnson. I mean we've had Brian Burns. He's a true pass rusher, stand up DN. So we've had him, to get consistent pressure. Like I say, he's definitely double-digit sack guy the
Yeah.
last few years. So we've had those guys. We just ain't had two, two guys at the same time, like Hardy and Charles Johnson at the same time. And like Mike Rucker and them boys when we had that and Peppers. We usually have two pretty good solid pass rushers besides Reddick. Last year and Burns, they were two solid pass rusher. But before that, Brian Burns was kind of by himself. And even last year, he really didn't get no pressure from the opposite side. So man, hopefully, like I said, in this scheme, whoever it is, again, I'm curious to see, with this scheme, how they going, they're gonna scheme it up, how ever gonna scheme it up, to get that speed guy standing up. Is Brian Burns gonna be standing up, right? Is he gonna be standing up, or is he gonna be down on fours? So I'm curious to really see how that's gonna work and how they're gonna use him. Because the main thing is in that 3-4, what I'm concerned about with Burns is that him stacking up against the run. Because Burns, he's a true pass rusher. He ain't really that good against the run. Watch tape on him.
Yeah.
So I'm curious of how Evero's gonna scheme that to get him some run support, with them linebackers. So I'm just curious, man. I think he still could do well, or is he gonna have him down, or it's just a lot of questions. But I think I'm just curious how that 3-4 is gonna work. Uh, Looking forward to do that. But whoever we get, though, to answer your question, I think we do need depth there at the end, on the opposite side. So whoever it be, whether it be a free agent, those guys that you name, Clowney, Frank Clark, or Ngakwe, they might wait. Like I said, they might wait till after the draft to possibly bring somebody in to see what money they got left, and are they re-upping Burns this year? Who knows? That's the tale to be told. But again, you probably gonna see some signings, especially as we get closer to training camp. Seeing where the roster at,
Yeah,
to see if
yeah,
we can bring one of those guys in, because we can at that point, by the time we get to training camp, and none of those teams ain't signed them, man, you can get those guys
dirt
for
cheap.
dirt cheap, man. So especially
Yeah,
like a Clowney, man, coming back home to Rock Hill. And Clowney, he was solid up there in Cleveland when he was playing opposite side of Garrett. So, but we'll
yeah.
see.
All right, fellas, we in the last 15 minutes of the show, man. Time to get to the question, man, that everybody has been waiting for. For everybody that's new to the channel, man, again, go ahead and subscribe. Hit the like button on this video as well. It helps your boy with the algorithm, man. Smash that like button if you haven't done so already. But we into our final topic, man, the last 15 minutes of the show. Who does the Carolina Panthers draft #1 overall in this upcoming draft? Is it Bryce Young? Is it CJ Stroud? A report came out today from Ian Rappaport that the Panthers have no plans on trading the #1 pick. So who is our quarterback of the future and why? Whoever want to go first.
I'll start. So this question that came up several times, as it should. First thing is, again, those people that was talking about we were going to potentially trade the #1 pick. We wouldn't have traded it up from 9-1 and gave up, what we gave up to trade the #1 pick, right? That's not logic. That's not how it worked. So I knew that we had no interest in trade, because we might as well not trade it for the #1 pick if we were going to move it. Second, who we should draft. Honestly, in my honest opinion, I don't have a true preference of who we should draft between Bryce and Stroud. I like both of them. I've watched both of them. I think what they bring to the table, they're both ready to play. In my opinion, you can throw them out there, day one, and let them. I mean, they may struggle a little bit, obviously, but I think they have the IQ enough to go out there and throw them in the fire immediately, right? Either one of them, Stroud or Young. And as far as, do I prefer one or the other? I honestly can't say. I think that, your report that came out said we bringing the Jigbu in. I think that might be beneficial to Stroud if it was possible that we got him by chance. I don't know. That would be beneficial to Stroud, just because they do have a chemistry, and I always think about what Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase did up there in Cincinnati. So I think that can be beneficial to a team when you have one of your receivers from college with your quarterback. But honestly, man, I can't. Earlier this year when we got the #1 pick, we first got it. I said we should draft Stroud. I was sold on him. But man, just looking at Bryce, going back and watching his film and his pro day, he got everything, all the tools you want in the #1 pick as well. So I can't honestly answer that, man. I can't say which one. I would take either one. I wouldn't be mad at either one. As long as we don't draft Levis or Richardson, I'm cool. If we draft Stroud or Young, I'm happy with whoever it is, either one. So I think it's just gonna come down to who the Panthers like the most out of the two guys. I think those are the top two guys. I don't think Richardson and Levis are in play. Not at #1 anyway. But I think those are two guys gonna be 1 and 2. in my opinion. But I honestly can't say who. And CLT, you can take it over from there, man. That's what I got for on that topic.
Like you guys said, I wouldn't be disappointed in either. I do have a favorite, and my favorite is going to be Stroud due to size, stature, prototypical quarterback. He has some mobility, not the best. I feel he has the bigger arm. He's bigger. Yes, I think Bryce is more accurate, but I feel like CJ Stroud doesn't lack in accuracy, so I can't be upset with Stroud. I wouldn't say Bryce is better because of the accuracy, but either or, I think both of them are great candidates. You was lean towards Bryce as far as the intelligence, but like Wavez doesn't worry about it, but I worry about that size. I don't think that size is going to hold up for 10 years. So at number one, you want something that can hold up for 10, 15 years, be a franchise stable. We don't want to be in this position 5 years down the line, 4 years down the line because he can't hold up.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So I'll go next on it, man. First, I wanted to be known. I think I'll let it be known is that either one of these guys could come in here and be a Super Bowl winning quarterback here in Carolina. I feel like CJ Stroud or Bryce Young have the arm talent. They both have the potential. Their knowledge of the game. Both played at elite schools. All of these guys have the potential to be, the Carolina Panthers franchise quarterback for going forward, right? But if you're asking me right now, CJ Stroud is probably the ideal, but it's something about Bryce Young, man, that's been really growing on me, man, over the last couple of days since our last live. I've been watching the film on him, man, and I've just been looking at like his playmaking ability, right? This guy makes plays out of no plays. And the reason why I feel like the size doesn't worry me, man, because if he didn't get hurt in college and he's going up against some of the best defensive lines in college, obviously Alabama has a solid offensive line as well. I mean, they always have a solid offensive line. But if he didn't get hurt in college, I'm like the injury part of it. See, it's not about your size if you can hold up. And I think that Bryce Young will be able to hold up. Obviously he might have to pack on. I would love to see him get to at least 210, 215. Like that would be like ideal for him to get at. But also, man, I don't want it to affect his mobility because Bryce Young is also a very mobile quarterback as well. If you look at his game is very similar to Joe Burrow's. Granted, he doesn't have Joe Burrow's size, but his game is very similar to Joe Burrow, man, where he's able to make plays outside of the pocket. Bryce Young has a cannon for an arm, man. His arm is not as strong as CJ Stroud's. I don't think his arm is strong as CJ Stroud's or Will Levis and these other guys. But I think, man, when you're talking about ball placements and processing of the offense and of the defense, I think that he's number one in those categories, right?
Gotcha. Yeah.
So, like, that's the part of the game that I feel like separates him from CJ Stroud and all the rest of these quarterbacks is his processing of defenses. Bryce Young already know what's going to happen on the defense before the ball even hikes, even snaps. And to me, that is what you need to have at the next level. That's what separates the great quarterbacks from the really good quarterbacks. So from that perspective, I will give, Bryce Young when it comes to the smarts and the X's and O's and the breakdown of the game, I will give him that. Now, CJ Stroud, on the other hand, listen, he can do everything well. He can pass the ball at an elite level. His accuracy probably is the most accurate quarterback coming out of this draft. He has good arm strength, can throw the deep ball. But what worries me about CJ Stroud and where I think that where Bryce has this over him, CJ Stroud didn't escape a lot when he was in college. You didn't see him run a ton when he was in college, especially he even came out and said that was probably one of his biggest things that he, wish he would have done a lot more is run and get outside of the pocket, right? And I know a lot of people said that he didn't need to. I get that, but that's what I'm saying. That's what separates the talent level between him and Bryce. When you play in the SEC, you're going against defensive ends that are just as fast as the quarterback.
So you have to escape. There's no way that you can be a quarterback in the SEC and don't have any escapability whatsoever. The defenses are just too good. And for CJ Stroud, I didn't see a ton of that when I watched on the film and I turn on the film. His escapability. Now, granted, he's more of a traditional pocket passer than Bryce Young is, which is nothing wrong with that. It can also have success. So I don't think that you can go wrong with either one of these guys bringing them in. Like literally neither one of them I would be upset with. But if you had to ask me today, and again, I have every right to change my mind all the way up until April's draft, the size doesn't worry me for Bryce Young. I think from a character perspective and from when you turn on the tape and watch it, the playmaking ability of Bryce Young, if you ask me today who I would take, I think that I would take Bryce Young today. Now, this could change, obviously in the next week or so, but the playmaking ability. And it's one game that I want everybody to go take a look at against LSU. I remember this play because me and my brother was on the phone. He's an Alabama fan. I'm an LSU fan. It's this one play where Bryce Young was swamped by the defense. And he escaped and got to the sideline and threw a sidearm cross pass down the field for a touchdown. It's probably one of the best college plays I ever seen in my life. Bryce Young has the playmaking ability. I get what everybody's saying about the size, and size is, to me, in today's NFL, size is not as big of a factor as it once was. And I know people are going off of Tua, and I know people are trying to go off of that. But again, if you have a solid offensive line, I expect Bryce Young to have success in the NFL. So today, Bryce Young will be the quarterback that I would take, but this could obviously change prior to the draft.
People got to realize too, man, there's several examples of, little quarterbacks that's currently in the NFL. Like you look at Lamar Jackson's not a big guy. Lamar Jackson is skinny, man.
He is.
He tall. He taller than Bryce, but he's not a big guy.
I think Lamar weighs like 210.
Edward, that's a lie. Edward, that's a lie. Edward, Jeff Garcia was small, just like.
We can name him. We can name. Look,
it's a lot of quarterbacks that were small. Edward, I can't agree with that.
Lamar Jackson is a small quarterback when you talk about compared to somebody like Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts. That's one. Russell Wilson.
The sub 200 is what worries me. He's not even 200 pounds.
But CLT, you got to look at
he weighed in at 207 at the combine.
That's like they said before. By week 10, he's going to be 180, 185 because the immense workouts throughout the year.
But think about it, CLT. He's going to the NFL with the best nutritionists that in the world, but they're going to get him. They're going to make sure he's bulked up enough to sustain the season. You think they ain't going to put no weight on that boy? They definitely going to put some weight on him.
I feel like this one thing. This is my perspective, right? When you talk about Bryce Young being smarter than CJ Stroud, processing the field better than CJ Stroud, that can be taught with experience and the right quarterback coach and the right coaching staff.
Without a doubt. I'm just picking at that point. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, that size
that could be taught to a point, right? Because your brain still got to be able to analyze and process it on the field. So that can't be taught when you out there in the live fire. Your brain ain't analyzed. You got those bullets coming at you because.
But we have nothing that shows that he can't do that already.
No one said.
Nobody said that he can't do it. We just didn't see a lot of it.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
that's all I'm saying. We just didn't see a lot of it.
No, what he said was that he thinks Bryce does a better job at it, right, than CJ. Not saying that that's not a knock on CJ. CJ,
not a knock at all.
He can process and analyze things very well. That's why I said, you can't go wrong with either one of them. He just said Bryce does it a little bit better. It's not by much. Like I said, there's not a big gap between the two.
Not at all.
However you look at it, whether it's size, process stuff on the field, what they can do with their arm. I mean, and Edward, I seen the comment that you made that Bryce don't have an NFL arm. That's a lie because having an NFL arm means can you make NFL throws? Like the back shoulders and the fade, and he can make those. I guarantee you go back and watch the tape. That's what having a strong arm doesn't mean an NFL arm. No, having the NFL arm means you make the NFL throws, which is hard to do when you got the back shoulder throws and the sideline out route throws. Those are NFL throws. And you go watch the tape, and you'll see Bryce can make this. So he has an arm to do. His arm may not be as strong as CJ's. I give you that, but he can make all the NFL throws that you need to make in the game, especially on the route tree. But again, you can't go wrong with either one of them. Those that's concerned with the size, hey, I understand, but we got proven examples of great quarterbacks with the small. I'm gonna give you another one that nobody don't even talk about, but that probably should get in the Hall of Fame, and that's Mike Vick. Small.
Yeah, Mike Vick.
Granted, he was fast as hell. He could run.
He wasn't no
but
big quarterback. Michael Vick was not a big quarterback at all.
Vick was small.
Another thing for you guys to think about too, though, with the small quarterback, one of the hardest pieces to keep together is your offensive line if they're good. So, yeah, we have an offensive line now, but to keep that offensive line intact to protect a smaller quarterback is going to be difficult.
So let me ask you this, CLT.
The good team, hold on, let me say this. The good teams find a way to make it happen every year.
The good teams, we're aspiring to be good. You know what I'm saying? We have the pieces to be good at the coaching staff, and the regime looks bright. We haven't proved that we're a good team yet.
So let me ask you this, since it's about the size. So Cam Newton, big quarterback, right? Took a punishment. Stayed injured. Probably one of the biggest quarterbacks to play.
No, the biggest quarterback to ever play.
Okay, the biggest.
You got Ben.
Cam Newton was 6'8", 260.
Whatever.
You ain't never seen a quarterback that big.
He probably. I mean, I don't know. You got Culpepper too. Culpepper was pretty big. But anyway,
I don't think Cam ever got no 260 though.
Man, you crazy, bro. Cam like 2014, but Cam was up to like 260.
I don't remember his weight. I know he was a big quarterback. He was big coming out of Auburn.
Bro, Cam got big, bro.
260, but he might have been the 240. I don't know, but anyway,
240 is still crazy.
Whatever his weight was, Cam was a big quarterback, right? He was a big quarterback, took a punishment, but his body didn't hold up. So regardless, to answer your question about the line, he didn't have a line that he took a beating, and Cam Cam's only 32 years old, and he's out the league. He shouldn't be. But it's not about
point.
It's not about skill.
But it's a little bit different though.
But listen,
that's a good point.
Listen to me.
Hey, look. Andrew Luck was a big quarterback. Andrew Luck.
What I'm saying is
his career got cut short because of injuries.
So meaning the fact that Bryce been smart, what do you have any quarterback that don't have a line, is gonna have issues because they constantly getting hit, right? Regardless of your size. What I'm saying is size don't matter if you're a baller, like Bryce being, a small one of the smaller quarterbacks. His body may not hold up the same way that he was a bigger quarterback. Because Cam is a prime example. Andrew Luck, like we just named, like those guys' bodies didn't hold up, to the punishment of the NFL, right?
That's the point.
You say Cam was more of a runner, but hell, that's the truth. He was one of the biggest.
I can agree to what he's saying. It just still worries me, bro. Like
I got you.
It does. It worries me too.
Listen, it's only gonna worry me until it becomes a problem.
There you go.
Right? I'm not worried now. Like until we start saying, okay, well, dang, he's out, 6 games this year, 6, you know what I'm saying? That's when it's gonna become a problem for me. But it hasn't happened yet. We don't know if it's gonna happen, and I pray to God that it doesn't happen. But that's when I'll be concerned about, like, dang, man, this dude is a bust. I'm gonna say CLT was right, man. We shouldn't took him. If that becomes the case. But we can't go in thinking like that if we do draft this guy, he's gonna come up to where he can't hold up. Right? So again, I think what do we draft Bryce? What do we draft Young? Bryce or CJ, we can't go wrong with either one of them, man. I feel like.
Let me say this point right quick,
Go
man. To Edward, because Edward, man, he been saying a lot here in the comments. The point that he trying to make, Edward, is that big quarterbacks, small quarterbacks, anybody can stay hurt in the NFL. Yeah. It doesn't matter if you're 6'6", 240 pounds. It doesn't matter. If you like, the point that he's trying to make is that everybody got to have a solid offensive line to stay protected. Injuries, unfortunately, are a part of the game. Don't matter if you're a big quarterback or a small quarterback. And to his point, that's the point that he's trying to make, is that there's no statistic that's saying that bigger quarterbacks are lasting longer than smaller quarterbacks. There's no statistic that says that, right? You don't have nothing on paper that shows that a bigger quarterback has lasted. Cam Newton was one of the biggest quarterbacks in the NFL, and he stayed hurt, right? And you can blame it on his scrambling. You can blame it. Half the times, a lot of the hits that Cam took, he was in the pocket. You get what I'm saying? Ben Roethlisberger was another huge quarterback. Stayed hurt all the time. Got hit a lot. And Big Ben, even when he was a prime, he had escapability. Andrew Luck was one of the biggest prospects, one of the most highly rated prospects coming out of college. This man didn't even make it to his 30s to play in the NFL because of injuries. And he had one of the best offensive lines in history in front of him. So the point that we're trying to make is that it's not about your size in the NFL. The game is what the game is. Granted, you ideally would want a bigger quarterback just because you think a bigger quarterback is more of a, susceptible to injuries or less susceptible to injuries. But at the end of the day, it comes down to, man, this is football. It doesn't matter if you're small or big. Kyler Murray, small quarterback, got hurt. Yeah. It doesn't matter, man. Patrick Mahomes is a big quarterback. He got hurt. Everybody gets hurt. It's a part of the game.
It's not also the only thing that you also forgetting is it's not all about taking the punishment. You also want him to be bigger because you want him to see over his offensive line. You want him to be able to throw inside the passing lane.
But CLT,
but he never got balls batted down in college.
Go look
Bryce Young never got balls batted down in college.
I'm talking in general. I'm not just talking about him specifically. Why you would want a bigger quarterback?
But no, I got you. No, you're right about that. But what I'm saying with Bryce, he played with a huge offensive line in Alabama, right? He played like Alabama. I mean, most teams in the SEC is like a step below the NFL. Most of those teams there. So meaning those guys, the passing lanes, him playing with offensive linemen at 6'7", 6'6", he succeeded. The dude won the Heisman 2 years ago.
Right, he won.
So when people say, I mean, that comment that you brought up, I mean, I agree with you 100%. Like you want to be able to see over the line, but obviously that wasn't the issue for him. Now again, for somebody else who wasn't a baller, that like a Baker Mayfield, when people was talking about Baker Mayfield getting balls batted down,
it's because he trash.
Right, that he's not a baller like Bryce. Right, they don't compare. He don't have the skill set.
We gotta put the brakes there because Baker won a Heisman. Baker was a baller in college.
Baker.
We're talking about
Baker won the Heisman.
So we're saying Bryce is a baller in college.
No.
It's yet to be seen what he can do in the NFL.
Now look who Baker. He played for Oklahoma. Now he didn't play the SEC. Now we can argue the SEC got the best, the conference wise, the best conference when it comes to NFL prospects. He did win the Heisman, but we all know now. Anybody that know and watch Baker and watch Bryce, they're not the same player.
What does playing in the SEC really mean? Edward, go look at the last 10 drafts. Majority of the players that were in the first round came out the SEC. That's what it means. No disrespect, Edward. That's what it means, though. Majority of the talent comes out of the SEC in the first round. You go look at it. All of the top ballers in the NFL right now came out the SEC. Damn near. Majority of the top ballers in the league right now are SEC players. Joe Burrow, SEC. Justin Jefferson, SEC. Jamar Chase, SEC. I mean, the list. Jalen Hurts, SEC. I mean, we can keep going. I mean, the list is it don't even compare. The SEC have the most drafted players all time.
I mean, everybody knows that if you watch college football and been following the SEC, then everybody know that the SEC is probably the top conference when it comes to NFL talent. And also, I mean, guys, when it comes to size and I mean, just ballers from every position. You know, it's been proven numerous times over. That's why those teams.
Patrick Mahomes wasn't Edward, but the point that we're trying to make
No,
is that
we're not
majority
saying,
of the top ballers, not every baller,
yeah, we're
but
not saying
majority of the top talent in the NFL came from the SEC. Is the point
go.
that I'm trying to tell
Y'all
you.
go back and look. If you follow college football, go back and look at the last 10 years when you see who the national champions have been, what team, what conference came from.
SEC.
You can that'll tell you alone why you think those teams keep winning. It's the reason.
SEC has held the national championship for like the last decade.
Like one team from
outside of Clemson years that they won.
Yeah,
it's been SEC has won the championship every other year. And I appreciate it, Edward. Listen, man, I'm not trying to argue with you, man. The point that I'm trying to make, Jalen Hurts was at Alabama first, Morgan, before he went to Oklahoma.
He started his career at Alabama. He played 2 years there, went to the national championship at Alabama. Led him to the national championship before Tua came in.
Yeah.
SEC it is what it is.
But the point that I'm trying to make to you guys, and we're going to go ahead and close it down, man. Shout out to everybody that's here, man, and show support, man. We had a great conversation. Wanted to save that quarterback conversation to the end. The point that I'm trying to make, guys, I'm good on either one, CJ Stroud or Bryce Young. We're here to talk about, we're here to talk about the pros and cons of both players. Literally, these guys are 1A and 1B. Honestly, they both can be 1As. Honestly, the Carolina Panthers you can't go wrong drafting either one, right? No. CJ Stroud or Bryce Young, both of them are going to come in here and have success. I think neither one of them has any true flaws in their game. I just think that the perception on Bryce Young's height is a little bit overhyped. When we're talking about the NFL, I think it's a little bit overhyped. I think his size really doesn't play as much as a factor as people are saying that it's going to be.
Guys, no, I was just going to say, to some of I said this on the last live. For those that some of y'all young people may not know, go back and watch the NFL tape on Doug Flutie. Doug Flutie was smaller than Bryce, playing in the NFL at quarterback. Started, played a long time, and was successful. For those that don't know, go on YouTube, look up Doug Flutie NFL. All his videos will come up. The dude looked like a midget out there. And guess what? You're going to see his highlights. That sums up the size debate that like this dude, his size when it comes, if you're a baller, you're a baller. What size you at, right? So that's what I'm saying. Please, all the followers out there, go look up. And again, I don't care who we draft, whether Bryce. Say that again.
But, I didn't say nothing now. Go ahead.
But no, I've just said it. Go look up Doug Flutie. And again, I don't care who we draft, whether it's Bryce or Young. Like I said, you can't go wrong with anyone. If those that's concerned about the size, please go look up the NFL Doug Flutie highlights in the NFL.
Somebody
y'all
said
probably don't even know who that is, but Doug Flutie was the smallest quarterback that ever played at the NFL level and was successful.
Okay, hey, let me. So
go ahead, CLT.
I just went to CJ's page, and it's a picture of Bryce and CJ took together, man. They don't look too much different. Like
they don't.
Right. That's what I'm saying. CJ not that much. He's not that much taller than Bryce. Everybody keep like Bryce is just this small. Like,
what is Bryce Young height? Bryce only like 6'1", right?
No, Bryce. They got him listed at 5'10".
No, I'm talking about CJ Stroud. I mean, what's CJ Stroud height?
Yeah, I think CJ like at what 6'1", 6'2"?
Yeah, 6'1", 6'2". I'm gonna be honest with you. In person, it ain't a big difference between 5'11" and 6'1". I'm telling you, not in person.
No, I gotta be honest with myself now. Just looking at these photos, man, they look kind of same as ours.
But yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're not a huge difference. And I mean, CJ, his frame is bigger. Like his frame and his body is bigger than Bryce. But
he got more weight.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not a big difference. And Jeff, to answer your question, Doug flew through Hail Marys his whole career and was rarely out the pocket. Do you think that was by design? They're gonna scheme it up. He was a great quarterback. When he was out of the pocket because he couldn't see over the line. That's right. He was out the pocket. They had to roll him to the right for him to throw the ball because he couldn't see over the line. But he was a great quarterback.
And listen, man, to all the surfers out there, listen, man, we are not trying to convince anybody, man, who's a better quarterback, perspective. Hey, listen, because Wavez, you need to add to where we can all call in. Hey, bro, I posted the link out there for y'all to pull up, man. Already. I posted it earlier, man. But we'll be back live, man. We will be back live at it Wednesday for another Midday Madness episode on Life is Just a Wave podcast. Hey, listen, man, great conversation today, man. Listen, the only thing we saying here is that the Panthers can't go wrong either way, guys. You know what I'm saying? Either way, CJ, if it's CJ, he's going to prosper here. If it's Bryce, he's going to prosper here. But
Absolutely.
There's no evidence. I do want everybody to understand this. To Big Bro pointing my point, there's no evidence that Bryce Young cannot see over the line. No draft analysts have said that he can't see over the line because he played in front of one of the biggest offensive lines in college football. There's no evidence that will say that he won't have a long career because of his size. Listen, guys, this is the NFL. It's all about, can you play the game at an elite level or you can't? Granted, Lamar Jackson is probably about a 6 foot even quarterback, but man, you talking about somebody who's probably played at 205, 210, maybe even lower than that. Lamar Jackson, when he came into the league, was a stick.
Yeah.
He was a stick when he came into the NFL. He was a stick. And the point that we're trying to make, guys, is that it's about, can you ball? That's really what it comes down to. To me, I don't care if you was 4 or 5, as long as you can come in here and ball and win me football games. That's all that it comes down to. Can you ball? And both of these guys are ballers, man. So again, man, if y'all like this conversation, y'all like this debate, man, like this video, hit the subscribe button if you haven't subscribed to the channel. Life is Just a Wave podcast, man. CLT, I appreciate you, bro, for pulling up. Big Bro, I appreciate you for pulling up, man. Y'all go ahead and get y'all last words.
Hey, it's been another great one, man. Love coming on with you guys. Hey, great points across the board, even from the comment section. This is what it's about, guys. Having a good constructive conversation. We may not agree on everything, but it's good constructive conversation about our thoughts and our opinions. And like I said, again, I'm not trying to prove to anyone which one's better. I love both of the guys, as I stated. Like I said, just the ones the only concern with Bryce is the size. Even the national media, like, to me, his size should not be a factor. But I would be happy either way, Bryce or Stroud or Bryce. I think both of those guys, whatever situation they get into in the NFL, are going to have good careers. I think, looking back on it in a few years from now, this could be one of the best classes, we've seen in a while. Quarterback wise, once 4 or 5 years from now, if everybody develop as they stated, we even with Levis and Richardson. But yeah, hey, it's been fun, guys. Hey, I'm looking to be back. Let's go.
We back at it Wednesday. CLT, last words, bro.
I just want to say thanks for having me on. Like you said, bro, this is what it's about. We may not agree on everything, but that's what picks your brain. Broadening your horizon to something that you didn't know about the team, or what you didn't know about free agency, what you didn't know about these draft candidates, and pros and cons. Like, if everybody agrees on everything, then you don't have a show. You don't have an interesting show. So,
Right.
To have you guys mind on full display, we can speak to each other as grown men and watch these comments from, because at the end of the day, we all are fans of the team.
Yes,
we
sir.
want the best for the team. So
Yes,
with that being said, some of the great topics that Wavez picked out for us today, keep us on our seats, man. Keep the fans on the seats, man. And we're excited for the direction that the team is going.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, man. Hey, y'all heard it, man, from these boys, y'all. We will be back live with another Midday Madness, 12 p.m. on Wednesday. Make sure y'all come in, man. Like this video, hit the subscribe button, turn on the notifications. To all my servers out there, life is just a wave, baby. Until next time, y'all hold it down.